Good morning. Good morning. Well, good afternoon here, but good morning to you in the United States. Oh, yesterday was kind of rough. I went on legal vices and third of a bottle of bourbon, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 9 beers in 3 hours, and yeah, then I slept. I could have continued, but I thought I better take a nap so I can later on have my Finally Friday stream and maybe continue with some of this trial. I woke up at 2 a.m. my time, which is a good 5 hours later. Discovered what the time was, checked Ian Runkle's stream a bit, and then screw it, and went back to bed. yeah, that was a bad idea. So yeah, but luckily I saw that Friday trial was only just under 2 hours. So with these 4 hours we have before Yodi. Yes, it's Saturday. It is Yodi Day today, which means at 6 p.m. my time, noon Eastern time, me and David over at MLS Law Show will do a Yodi stream. We are then at the Yodi stream. We are at day 15 and day 14. Interesting that last hour she kind of described her first sexual encounters with Travis, and that was the most dull description I've ever heard. Or what do you say, Mo? Hi.
Hello.
Hi. We were just talking about Yodi Day on Wednesday, when Yodi described her sexual encounter. Puppy!
Yes, we are having separation anxiety / the boys want to play, and Thor would like to put him back up for adoption.
Oh. Oh, Thor. Aw.
Yeah, Thor's like, you're ugly and you're adopted.
Oh. You, as soon as you get your monetization up, you have 10 to 12 years of doggy cam.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, you know that Jeff
Yeah,
and
that's
his
what I tried
100.
to tell Mr. Mo. I was like, no, don't look at this as me getting a puppy you didn't really want. Look at this as me getting a cash revenue you really didn't want.
Oh,
Yeah, and actually, the boys will probably come in here and take him because we've been trying to wear him out during the day since, like a newborn, he is asleep during the day and
mm,
awake during the night.
of course he is. Of course he is. Oh,
So I have not really been keeping up with this case because I was full on. I I am so disappointed in the jury with the Black Widower case because I really
yeah.
could not find. I don't know how they took innuendo and absolutely no
Mm.
indication of conspiracy of any sort as as
Yeah, I
he
mean,
totally done it.
mm, yeah, I didn't see that much of that trial, but the things I've heard and from the people who covered it, it's like the jury almost latched on and enhanced the little evidence they had. I did see that Pew Pew guy describing this is how it happened, but they did in no shape or form did they recreate the actual crime scene.
In my estimation, what the defense should have done, if I am Mo the lawyer, dude is eminently unlikable. Guy is a
Mm,
total douche. So I would have
mm,
said, look, guy is a total D-bag. I would
mm,
neither want to be married to him, be his hairdresser and or girlfriend. He's a total douchebag. That walkthrough, he was high as balls, okay? So why
mm,
are we taking a man who is high and pretending to be Chuck Norris because he's braggart? He's a braggart. He's a
mm,
liar. You know, he's
mm,
over here trying to impress these police officers desperately. All right,
mm.
sir, you're going out with your dad because 1 second. Let me get him out to Mr. Mo because I think he needs to go out to pee. I'll be right
Yeah.
back.
Okay. And as I was starting to say, I'm sure the Jodie, when she started to describe her first encounters with Travis, I'm sure it was really exciting, but the way she described it was not. It was very gray and dull, the way she just described it. That's what I meant. But that is at 6 p.m. today, my time, and noon Eastern time. We are here for this trial that will be the end of me. Here's the thing. After reflecting a bit about the stream, what we watched Thursday, I'm getting the inkling that I'm not entirely sure that the police officers have the same opinion about what is evidence as the prosecutor, because now we know she spent the first 7 days with, let's go by the kid's story. Yes, the kid who was 8 at the time, and well, let's for Mo say this started 2020.
Okay.
Breisha Tarrell disappeared in the middle of the night.
Okay.
Yeah, and 8 months later, her remains was found. Everybody, including me, is convinced that Henry Dinkins did it. Here's the caveat: not much evidence shows it. That's
Okay.
a huge problem.
Now, is
But
Marcus, does he have a history of,
Henry,
or Henry, sorry, not,
mm,
I was saying hi to Marcus. Sorry,
mm,
Marcus, you are in no way related to any sort of crime, not
mm,
even allegedly.
yeah, yeah. What is not known,
Sorry,
yeah,
Marcus.
this is a bench trial. and so no jury, which was a good choice by the defendant. And what is not known in the trial, but that we know, is that he's on the registry. When he was 17 years old, he did something to a girl below the age of 13. He has been in and out of prison most of his adult life, and he keeps finding women with the children, and he's not allowed to be near children, and he kind of forgets to report it. And his last conviction was a 5-year sentence. That was in 2019. But Mo, now you're asking me, well, if he was sentenced to 5 years in 2019, how could he be there in 2020?
Well,
Thank you for, he
yes,
got
I
an
was
early,
wondering, but I
he,
lawyer math, so I mean,
yeah, he got an early parole
of
5
course he
months
did.
later,
Was it for
weeks,
the
be,
proof?
weeks
Well, no,
before Briasia disappeared.
of course he did.
Yeah, this is not in trial. Well, the judge knows it, but he has to still rule, because in a bench trial, he is the founder of law and the founder of fact. So some things are not allowed in, including his
Well,
priors and stuff like that. And so he's a and here's the deal. All his girlfriends seems to know about this, and they keep doing it.
okay, one-way ticket for him and his girlfriend to Snake Island. Mo for president. I'm done,
Yeah.
y'all. One of my only platform or planks in my platform.
Well, so this is what happened the night that we know of so far. Henry and the mother of Briasia, who is also the mother of his son. Briasia is not his kid.
Okay.
Yeah. They agreed together with the grandmother that the kids should stay the night, a few nights, just because, her brother, JD,
Okay.
wanted his sister with him there for some odd reason. Nobody knows why.
Okay.
And well, everything goes fine. They go over to the cousin, plays video games, stuff like that. They go to his girlfriend's apartment, Andrea, and apparently everything goes well. The kids go to bed. In the bed, the adults go sleep in the living room. In the middle of the night, Henry goes off to his side piece, according to his later testimony. Yeah, because why? Apparently, why not? And but in the middle of the night, she disappears. And then strange things happen. Nothing was said during the initial interview with neither mother of Briasia, Henry's girlfriend, or Henry's son. 4 days later, for some reason, everybody changed the story. All of a sudden, he is up and about at about 3 a.m., which we now know is because he just ran off to have an encounter with his side piece. But somewhere in there, she disappeared. And he claims he went out looking for her a few hours in the middle of the morning, and then came back, picked up JD, the kid. They went out looking for her. But his phone kept pinging in odd places, like a Walmart the next town over, buying 2 bottles of bleach.
Oh, please tell me he got his murder cleanup kit at self-checkout.
Yes.
Out now.
Yes, paid cash.
Of course.
Yeah. And here's the thing, the kid didn't testify to any of this until much later. That first knew nothing. 4 days later, now he woke up in the middle of the night and discovered that his sister was missing, which was not backed up by Henry's girlfriend. According to her, he was asleep until later that morning, and more or less.
Hmm.
Yeah. So there's a lot of circumstantial because while they saw his phone pinging there, then they caught him on highway cameras in weird places because not the straight road down to the town, but a bit off. So they actually found his car while driving with extremely tainted windows, so nobody could see inside. They saw him. They no, they found him at buying a certain amount of gas, and so they could calculate roughly how much travel he did. That didn't add up to what his explanation was. And when they picked him up at one camera, and they know how that stretch of road, that's the speed limit. He drove the speed limit, but still 15 minutes are missing. So there are some really good circumstantial evidence since he drove past that place where she was later found 8 months later with a 15-minute gap. But the prosecution is burying this because the kid, the son, who first didn't know Jack nothing, eventually throughout the since the 3 years, he's been changing his stories from I know nothing to I saw my dad and Andrea kill my sister. Here's the thing, the prosecution has cleared Andrea, the girlfriend. There's no way. Phone pinging and phone records and stuff like that. She was at the apartment. There's no way. And yeah. So I wouldn't rely on the kid's testimony at all. Maybe he woke up at the Walmart and saw his dad and then fell back to sleep again. And now, since then, he wants to make everybody happy. And so because apparently, for some reason, the prosecutor doesn't think kids can lie. What are your opinions about that?
Okay, here's the thing. A kid will say, if you have, given recent circumstances, if you have a person with an agenda, an interviewer with an agenda, you add leading questions. You have a
Mm,
kid that doesn't understand that there is an agenda,
mm,
so that you add leading questions. What does your mom do? My mom
mm,
streams videos. Oh, where does your mom stream? In her bedroom. Does your mom ever change clothes in her bedroom? Well, why, yes, my mom always changed the clothes in her bedroom. Well, does she shut the door when she changes her clothes in the bedroom? Well, of course she does. You don't want to. Oh my,
Look
he
how
makes the
happy
same.
he is.
That's the same face Thor makes when he sees Fry. If Thor could get on anything, he'd be like, "Free puppy, will sell."
Mm.
But
Oh, yes. Yeah. Yeah.
so again, in an innocent 8-year-old's mind, he's just said, "Yes, my mom shuts the door because she, doesn't get changed in front of us."
Mm,
But to that interviewer, what he said is, "My mom changes clothes while streaming in front of people." So, d- re-
mm,
depending on who is asking questions, those questions could be given in a way. And again, it is very possible that that little boy saw a bunch of stuff. It's
mm,
very possible that the mother was aware of, let's say, abuse that was
mm,
continuous of the little girl and possibly the son. If this man has a history of this,
mm,
it's very unlikely. As as
Yeah.
pre-psychologicalologist,
Mm.
it's
Yeah.
possible that he never
Mm.
changed his patterns. So it's very
Yeah.
possible that he targets single women with children to repeat
Mm.
these patterns.
Yeah.
It's possible
But
that the young
but
so
nobody alleges that he did something. Well, the prosecution tries, but
there's not concrete evidence.
the kid's mother doesn't testify it, even though she hates him. The grandmother hates his guts. No, nothing of that sort. His girlfriend, nothing of the sort. Might it
No,
be I mean, there's a lot of
but
things that
it's
makes no
there's
sense.
the thing is the kid can also misremember things. Again, if you ask the kid, again, take another example, like asking Griffin the same thing 100 times because he's written on the wall. Griffin, did you
Mm.
write on the wall? Well, he's not going to
Mm.
say yes because he's a terrorist, but it's going to say no. Then it's going to come up with a robbler and ninjas. I
Mm.
mean,
Oh,
so
Jody.
yeah, so he's going to go full
Mm.
Jody Arias
Mm.
about the whole thing.
Mm.
So this kid, he's gotten tired of people asking the same question. So now he's going to go, he has mom talking in his ear, like, your dad
Mm.
is nothing. He's worthless. I
Mm.
hate him, get him, for
Mm.
everything. So he's gonna be like, I saw my dad.
Yeah.
And he's probably irritated with his mom. Maybe his mom didn't say he could play,
Mm.
Nintendo that day. So he's like, I saw
Mm.
my dad and my mom do it. Cause
Mm.
like, I don't want to deal with,
Dad and girlfriend, not mother.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Girlfriend, mom hates girlfriend too. So she
Mm.
did it too. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
again, the
Yeah.
kids,
Mm.
do we not remember the 80s? How many
Mm.
daycare teachers were, imprisoned for having like goat sacrifices, in the
Mm.
middle of daycare,
Mm.
with
Mm.
underground
Mm.
Pizzagate
Yeah.
type things
Yeah.
for the love
And
of
as with
Cheetos.
Zachariah Anderson's daughter, who has been implemented for years, daddy is evil. And this kid has probably as well. Now, here's another thing. They know that Briasia was shot. They have been focusing for 7 days about a machete that the kids claim he saw his dad wipe off with bleach. But there is a machete, and but there's no traces of blood on it at all. No, nobody has testified traces of bleach either. So the first 7 days are worthless. And I can see the investigators and the cops are getting fed up with this prosecutor because they have a completely different case that they have presented to her. By the way, this is she was appointed in November of 2022. Prosecutor. This is her first big DA case. So, yeah. So my inkling here is there is really strong circumstantial evidence that would be enough to eliminate everybody else. And once you have eliminated everything else, then you have everything suspicious that the dad did, lied about, phone pinging. We have actual good phone pinging evidence in this trial.
Yeah, I don't. This is where.
Hi, Danny.
Oh,
Hey.
hey.
How you doing?
Yeah. Good. It's really early for you.
Yeah, I
Very.
know. I was gonna see if you were going to do something Saturday. My middle daughter came home yesterday with a sore throat, so
Uh-oh.
no track meet for us. Kind of okay with it, to be honest
Yeah.
with you.
Okay, so that is where we are. Day 7. There's good circumstantial evidence that the prosecution buries in truckloads of crap circumstantial evidence that has no bearing because we know there's too many changes in stories. And since this is a bench trial, there's no jury to convince.
Yeah.
It's a judge. So I believe that the defendant did good choosing a judge. And if he won't be convicted, it is because of the prosecution being
Idiots.
2-hour words. Yeah. So that is where we are. I know, Sal, you have been watching in on occasions on this trial, and you know the basics.
Yeah.
But I think my viewers are getting a bit
Restless.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you for going through and kind of telling me, because I have been
Sorry.
kind of Twitter pated this past week, not keeping up with everything.
So, sound, full screen. This is day 8. Why doesn't my tractor fit all of a sudden?
Wrong layout, maybe. There you go.
Yeah.
Kind of better.
Okay. I will. Yeah. All right, folks. Here we go. Day 8. Oh, and as per usual, they don't start on time.
Of course. It's Iowa. They take their time.
Okay, they already have a witness on the stand. Yeah.
He's sworn in it once again. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing.
Oh, that's the
Please have a seat.
Detective Obert. He's one of 2 lead
Cunningham, you may
detectives.
proceed.
Your Honor, at this time, the state would move to introduce State's Exhibit number 74. That would have been the Google Map printouts that Detective Obert showed to Mr. Dinkins during the interview. And additionally, State's Exhibit 150.
Oh, yeah. Prosecutor discovered a fashion sense in late 80s, early 90s when she watched an episode of either Falcon Crest, Dynasty, or Dallas.
Or AbFab. Whoa.
What the hell?
The cleavage on that. Holy
Damn.
Jesus.
She's been sleeveless most of the days. And,
She
Sorry.
is here for MILF Manor, and she is going home with your son. Yikes.
yeah.
Yeah, that is designing women. Delta
Okay.
Burke, watch out.
Okay, well, she has sleeves, so she didn't have a bathroom emergency.
Mm.
Oh my God, is she here to sell you Mary Kay? Ma'am, I already know I'm
Is she
an
Mormon?
No, she's not Mormon. Look at the cleavage on that shit.
Oh, yeah, true.
That's some boobage coming out.
Yeah. Well, Lutherans love their MLM as well.
Yikes.
Oh, yeah.
-2, that was the application for search warrant that had been authored by Detective Obert. I had inadvertently forgot to move to introduce those exhibits on Friday, so I would move to introduce those at this time.
No objection to 74. I do object to 150-2 as hearsay. I'll overrule the objection. I believe it was the search warrant. Is that correct?
That's correct.
They'll both be admitted.
Detective Obert, what I'd like to do is I want to go through and watch the video clips for the activity around 53rd, after the defendant had returned back to the apartment, picked up Notorious, left and came back, and then left an additional time. And then I want to do a review of the video surveillance feed from all the locations going out on Highway 61 into Clinton and back, okay? Your Honor, may the record reflect that I'm showing counsel what's been marked as State's Exhibit 23. May I approach, Your Honor?
You may.
I'm handing you State's Exhibit 23. Are you familiar with State's Exhibit 23?
Yes.
What is State's Exhibit 23?
It is video footage of all things that we felt were relevant to the investigation. So it's video footage from businesses that we canvassed, but then they're parsed down into smaller clips to make it more easily accessible when presenting today.
Sure. As far as the portions that will be played, does it simply show those points in time when the defendant's vehicle was observed passing various locations?
That is correct.
All right. Now, would this include also locations down along River Drive in the area of Schmidt Road?
It does.
All right. And then have you gone through and reviewed this to determine that this accurately depicts the activity relevant to?
I think came to an understanding early on that this prosecutor has a speech impairment. She stutters. That's why she is over pronouncing everything, but she still have problems with the T's.
Okay. So the son's name is Detorius?
Yeah, they keep doxing the kid. They should always have him as DL, but everybody knows his name and the picture and everything.
They showed a picture of him.
Yeah.
Oh, of course. Sure. Why not? Just, oh, for the love of God.
It was bad enough
why?
in the Anderson trial with his
Or what is
daughter.
it? Yeah, and then the one from Florida where he represented himself while looking like the Dragon Ball Z character.
Bradley Young.
No. The
Oh,
Florida one.
yes.
The evidence will show. God, what is his name?
Oh, God, that creep who fired his attorney at cross-examination of the wife he kidnapped and essayed.
No. This is the
No?
one where he killed his. He was African American.
Oh.
He looked like the Dragon Ball Z character. His hair was all up and.
Yeah, the guy who was yelling at the court.
Yeah, and then he got to cross-examine his son, who he lit on fire, basically, or tried to. Anywho, yeah, and
Yeah,
I don't.
Yeah.
He was just.
What is it with Florida?
Well,
this is Iowa, so
Whatever.
humidity will make you do a lot of things. I'm just saying.
Conservative states.
This particular investigation?
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time, the state would move to introduce State's Exhibit 23.
Oh, no objection, Your Honor.
Exhibit 23 will be admitted.
Your Honor, the state would request just to simply play those portions involving Highway 61 and going up to Clinton and the around the area of 53rd, since we haven't gotten to the point of the testimony on River Drive.
You may.
Okay, thank you.
yeah. The kid's testimony is on day 2, and his
it's good.
It's good. The prosecution has to restart the kid time and time again because he keeps telling the story the prosecution doesn't want him to tell.
Yeah.
They have prosecution has a narrative. This is good evidence. I mean, which is about 5% of the tales he has been told. The telling
that are told
during cross. The other 95% comes out, including one of the first questions from the defense. You would say anything to get your father behind bars, right? Yes.
He was not very good for the state.
No, but the prosecution is basing this entire trial on his testimony instead of using the actual circumstantial evidence.
If you have the circumstantial evidence, if you have all of this, go with that. Leave the kid out of it. Leave him out of it. For the love of all this holy, leave the child who lost his sister out of it, ma'am.
Yeah, and once a good investigator notices, okay, now he's telling a lot of stories that doesn't add up. We can't use it. But this prosecutor, yes, we can. I'm good. This is my first big trial as a DA. I can do it. And it blew up spectacularly.
Detective Obert, let's talk first of all about the Quick Start. Does the Quick Star have a different type of what do I want to call it? a different type of player that it didn't make it easy just to take that information and put it on what we're seeing 4 clips that you put on State's Exhibit 23.
That is correct. The quick start requires the proprietary player that comes with when you download it. So that cannot be parsed into its own smaller clip. It has to be played within the player.
Okay, all right. We'll play that here in a moment. But then let's go ahead and let's start with the video clip on Eastern. All right. Now, going back to your testimony, after the defendant left the apartment complex, what business did we see him traveling past first?
The quick start at East 53rd Street.
Okay. And do you recall what the time of that was?
That was at approximately 5:55 a.m.
All right. And then from there, what street does he head toward?
Eastern.
What direction does he turn on Eastern?
Northbound.
Is he captured traveling northbound on Eastern?
He is.
From what address?
That is the 6138 Judson Circle.
What is the relationship of 6138 Judson Circle to traffic going either north or south on Eastern?
It captures the 6100 block of Eastern Avenue.
All right. Is that one of the neighborhoods that lies along Eastern Avenue?
It is.
And does it lie on the west or the east side of Eastern Avenue?
East side.
And then as far as...
Yeah, she's very, very thorough about streets. But she doesn't have anything to show it. So I believe day 1 and 2, me and MG Law, we pulled up the map of the town, and okay, that's where they are. But yeah, she's very thorough about some details, and others she just skips over.
As the video surveillance camera, where is it physically attached to this structure so that it could pick up activity that we're going to observe?
It captures the back of the residence, that allows for video footage to be broadcasted onto Eastern Avenue. All
right, we'll play that footage then. What's our time frame that we're going to see the vehicle traveling north on Eastern past that location?
Approximately 5:57 a.m.
Hey, Erin, Corn Pope, Marcus, Jackpot Springs.
Hello.
Pixie.
Thanks for joining us this morning.
Maroon Impala traveling northbound.
All right, just to reset the stage then, and we're going to go back. Based on the cellular phone act.
Hold on.
Just to reset the stage.
Seriously, lady?
Oh, ma'am. That looks like my it looks like my computer before Mr. Mo has a heart attack and changes it all, and he's like,
Mark Jensen would be disappointed in you, ma'am. Your computer organizational skills are awful.
Jesus Christ.
Seriously, that is my desktop.
Okay. Even my soul is like, okay, all Word documents go together. Why aren't they in a Word?
One folder, woman.
Even the total chaos demon within me is like, why are the PDFs not all with the PDFs? Why is this?
Yeah.
Oh, dear Lord.
I think she has it like top left down to bottom right. There is where I should go. Instead of having everything, okay, folder 1, 2, 3. This is what this will testify to. Instead, everything is on.
No, this looks like ADHD exploded in desktop form. This looks terrible.
This is what's happening with the ADHD medication shortage.
Oh my gosh, this is
we're out of Adderall and we can't get any more, and this is what happens.
I know, this is like, okay, I just need to stop this. I'm driving to wherever this is.
Then we're going to go
desktop for her.
I mean, I can't make fun of her, but I can.
All right, just to reset the stage then, and we're going to go back. Based on the cellular phone activity, were we able to determine the path of travel of that vehicle when it got to the northernmost point of Eastern?
That is correct.
What was its path of travel?
Towards Veterans Memorial, and then eastbound on Veterans Memorial.
All right, and Veterans Memorial runs what directions?
East-west.
Okay, then when it traveled eastbound on Veterans Memorial, based on cellular phone records, where did that vehicle travel to next?
South on Jersey Ridge Road.
All right. And then, based on testimony with the vehicle going back to the apartment complex, do we ever see it returning north?
We do.
All right. What is the relevance of the address of 5915 Woodland Avenue?
This video footage captures the 5900 block of Jersey Ridge Road.
Okay. Is this a neighborhood then that lies either to the east or the west side of Jersey Ridge?
I'd have to look at a map.
Okay. All right. But at any rate, let's go ahead and we'll play this. So the first one that we want to look at is which one?
The 559
Okay. And what direction is it traveling at that point?
south on Jersey Ridge Road.
Would that take it back toward 53rd in the apartment complex?
That is correct.
She's very detailed in her questions too.
Do we see the vehicle?
Yes, it was the Maroon Impala traveling south.
Okay. All right. And then does this give you a perspective as to whether or not that residence lies on the east or the west side of Jersey?
It lies on the east side of Jersey.
Okay. Now let's go back down again.
That laptop
What
is
time
going
does it
to
come
have
back
the
north?
screen of
6:05
doom
a.m.
any day now.
I know. I'm just waiting for it to crash and
And what are we
her to
seeing
look
here?
at all
The
of
Maroon
her
Impala traveling north.
All right.
chaos.
Does this activity all correspond with our cellular phone record information?
It does.
All right.
Hope she doesn't click the wrong
The
icon
next
and
location
porn
that the
comes up.
vehicle is spotted at would be at what location?
Mile marker 124,
Heading what direction?
northbound on US 61.
All right. Yeah, absolutely. What time does it head northbound on mile marker 124?
6:11 a.m.
And then had the vehicle already passed at this point?
Yes.
Let me go back and I'll play that and I just won't talk.
That'd
And
be
let
nice.
us know when we see the vehicle.
It is now traveling north
All right.
in the westmost lane.
Okay. And then what time did we capture on that same camera coming back that morning?
7:52 a.m.
Heading what direction?
south on 61.
And let us know when we see that vehicle.
The vehicle is now just heading out of scene. It was in the westmost lane south.
I want to go back and I want to discuss the activity there at the Quick Shop when the defendant was observed going in, making the purchases and leaving. Detective Obert, what time did Mr. Dinkins leave that parking lot?
Here's the thing. I believe this is the fifth or sixth time that damn Quick Mart is being discussed with this and another witness. I mean, she's wasting so much time. We know he left the apartment around 3:30 in the morning. He showed up at that Quick Mart 3:33. Sorry for the pronunciation.
Oh, no,
Getting
you're
in,
fine.
buying smokes, buying gas, and then out again. Tinted windows, so nobody could see who was in the car. It might have been because, and according to a late testimony by Andrea, she saw Briasia standing outside that maroon Impala when she looked out the window. She didn't see her physically in the car, but by that car. And 3 minutes later, he is buying smokes and gas, doing this again, checking the car all the time. So circumstantial evidence towards, is the kid in his car? Yeah, we just can't see it, so it's not direct evidence, but it's good circumstantial evidence.
Yeah. And again, you just need circumstantial evidence. Before I understood what circumstantial evidence actually was, you know, I was like, well, it's just circumstantial evidence, but it's relevant and, you know, use it if you have it. Good Lord.
Yeah, but since prosecutor is using the son's testimony for everything in this trial, the water is so muddled that it's good. Of what I've seen so far, this should have been a 1-week trial, tops. It's a 5-week trial. And this
Yeah,
is
I don't get what she's trying to achieve. I guess
Mm.
that's I worry that she is going to lose what she has. I mean,
Mm.
does she have lesser and includeds in this? I guess is my worry that he's going to walk free.
Yeah.
It's
I'm
worrisome.
I'm worried that because if he walks free, it's not because of the investigation, it's not because of the judge, it's
Yeah.
definitely not because it's being streamed. It's because
The
of her
prosecution.
choices. Yeah,
And she's newly elected, correct?
yeah,
Is this the deal? Or
this is the DA. She was
The-
elected. Yeah, she was elected November 2022.
this is the actual DA.
Oh,
Yeah,
for the
Oh, that's
love of
pathetic.
all Cheetos.
Even
For
Gravely didn't prosecute Rittenhouse. He made
Yeah.
Beaner volunteered, but he used
well,
Beaner
of
to
course,
prosecute it.
Binger volunteered. I mean, are we shocked?
yeah.
Approximately
Richard said
3:38
he's an
a.m.
obtuse
All
idiot.
right. Now, with him leaving the parking lot at 3:38 a.m., did you travel to see how much time it would take to get to mile marker 124?
There was a Google Maps printout or a Google Maps search that I conducted to get an approximate time what it would take.
Yeah, I mean, she's all about, did you travel? And he's like, are you dumb, woman? Why would I need to go there and travel when there's Google Maps with an approximation? Yeah.
I mean, I understand why she would, because any defense lawyer is going to say, well, so you relied completely on Google Maps and you didn't drive it yourself. I could see why she would ask if he physically drove it,
Yeah.
because any smart-ass defense lawyer is going to say, okay, so you just relied on Google Maps, you didn't go out yourself. I could see why she asked.
Yeah, but at the same time, they have him on multiple
Well, yeah,
cameras and everything, and yeah. But yeah, maybe.
Well, and I forgot that it is a bench trial, so it's not like, it's not like you're having to deal with a person that may or may not have simply a high school education, so you are dealing with a judge rather than, and not knocking anyone who just has a high school education, but
I know.
I'm not
kidding.
I know I'm being
I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
educationist.
You are both pre-law.
Yeah, I'm being racist against education. I don't even know, elitist. Who knows?
Yeah.
They'll come up with a
I do
word.
wonder how
That's
it would play
which
with the
location,
jury, though.
passing mile marker 124.
Okay. As you sit here today, do you recall what that time element would have been?
Approximately 6 minutes.
Okay. Now, that being said, did you go to mile marker 124 in the middle of the night to see if you could pick up any activity passing mile marker 124?
Yes, and there was 2 vehicles that are heading north on 61 at 3:44 a.m. and 3:45 a.m. However, due to the being at nighttime, the quality of the video, you can't make out the make, model, or color of any of those vehicles.
However, could you tell if it was a sedan versus a pickup versus a semi?
I was able to deduce that it's not a semi and likely not a truck, but some sort of sedan.
Okay, so would that activity, as far as the time element, then correlate with the amount of time it would take to travel from the quick shop to mile marker 124?
It does make it possible to be the same vehicle.
All right, I'm going to go back to our first video clip at 3:44. And what direction of travel are we talking about?
Northbound on 61.
Okay. And as far as activity that we've seen?
The vehicle's traveling northbound.
Okay, all right. Before it became all headlights, could you see if it was a sedan?
It's kind of hard to make out for certain.
All right, I'm going to play that just one more time and see if we can pick up on that.
The headlights kind of drown out everything.
Certainly. All right, then let's go to the next activity within that time frame at 3:45. Again, what's the direction of travel?
Northbound on 61.
And is that the activity that we're talking about there? Oh, here we go.
Yep.
Okay.
So that one, it kind of gets dark again, which I believe makes out to be a sedan.
All right. What is our first location after the maroon Chevy Impala turns east on Highway 30 going into Clinton?
When it comes to video surveillance footage, it's 6:43 a.m. passing Bosch Farms or 6441 Lincoln Way,
All right. And what would be the direction of travel again?
eastbound.
Does that take the vehicle into Clinton?
It does.
When we look at this video, where do we need to be looking out?
Up in the top left corner, the vehicle just was seen in view and is now traveling east.
Okay. For Posh Farms, does it lie on the south side of Highway 30 or the north side of Highway 30?
South side.
Okay. So would that place Posh Farms closest towards Scott County?
Yes.
Okay. And then what time is that vehicle seen traveling past Posh Farms going out west?
7:15 a.m.
And is this after the time that the vehicle has departed the Walmart?
That is correct.
Let us know when we see the activity.
You can see the vehicle from afar. Now it's going to be heading close to out of camera view now.
All right. What would be our next location that would have captured the vehicle before it gets to Walmart in Clinton?
Before it gets to Walmart in
Yeah.
Clinton, it would be First Central Bank.
All right. And what time is it observed traveling past First Central Bank?
6:49 a.m.
Just again, circling the wagons, what is the location of First Central State Bank relative to the Walmart?
Right around the corner from Walmart. They're very close in proximity.
All right. And then when, based on video surveillance footage from Walmart, does Mr. Dinkins enter the Walmart parking lot driving that maroon Chevy Impala?
Approximately 6:50 a.m.
Okay. So the feed that we're looking at is what time?
6:49. And then that's the Impala right there,
All right.
heading eastbound.
Oh, they never get
Is
your
it
best
posted, do you
angles.
know,
do they?
on that camera at 7:10 a.m.?
Yes, that would be after it's just left Walmart.
Okay, and I'm going to play that. And so what direction would it be heading on Highway 30?
West. There, the Impala's in view and now out of view.
All right. What would be our next location?
DeWitt Travel Center.
Okay. For purposes of perspective again, where is the DeWitt Travel Center located relative to Highway 61 and the exit into Clinton if you were to travel east on Highway 30?
It'd be on the north side, be on the north side of Highway 30, but it'd be the southernmost part of DeWitt.
Okay. And is that fairly close then to Highway 61?
Yes.
All right.
And to areas,
This
if there
one
are no
requires the
other
player as
maroon
well.
Impalas,
The file,
then there
the
are
name
no
of the
other
folder,
maroon
that's
Impalas.
the exact time
So
that
they
you'll
can't
see the
really,
maroon Impala passing.
since they know
Oh,
where he
yeah, that's
ended
right.
up,
All right, so let me
where he
just go
was
ahead and
spotted
I'll do
later, and
the
later,
correct player for us to be able to play this.
by exclusion, they could say, yeah, maroon Impala.
The timestamp on this player is approximately 4.5 to 5 minutes off real time.
All right. Before we play this, Detective Obert, can you give us a perspective of where we want to look to on this video?
In the top part of it, and then kind of like towards the middle. With a semi in the way right now, it blocks a decent amount of traffic, but when that one's taken out of consideration, you can see the top part of the screen is traveling vehicles.
Lady, you know you can slow
Okay. And
down.
what's our time frame so that we can get our counter to the right point?
7:30:45, which makes it at approximately 7:26 a.m.
And was that our maroon Impala there?
It's going to be coming up here shortly.
Okay, gotcha.
There it is right there.
Got it.
And then
she asked the question at the wrong car. Yeah.
No, she's new at
This
this.
is also infuriating because she always intervenes in these guys' testimony because she thinks she knows better. She wants to prove something. Yeah, well, of course she wants to prove
Well, she's a
something,
woman.
but
Sorry. Well,
Her
I mean-
timing, no, her, yeah, she just, it's almost like she knows she has so much to get to that she,
she tries to like force it all out.
well,
yeah,
again, the way that her laptop is set up, it's like she's got a buckshot of what she wants to
Yeah.
get into, and she hasn't taken the time.
Mm.
Again, I explain it about how I think. So I think in almost a buckshot or nebula,
Yeah.
and I know other people don't think like that. So I have to get my buckshot or nebula, then take it back, put it all in an organization in a linear thing, then present it in a way that other people can digest it because they don't think like that.
I am just
And
like you, and you have to work to make other people see it.
Yeah, so I can add certain things like when I'm doing the linear thing, I can say, and by the way, this connects to this way. I can take it with the linear thing and then add little bits here and say this connects to this, but I still have to stay mainly on the linear because people don't think in nebulas. This woman has stayed in a nebula and continues to stay in it.
Yeah, she doesn't trust any of the witnesses because she has a narrative. This is the case she wants to prove. Instead of trusting the evidence, she narrates everything, which also makes it a bit easier for the defense to poke holes in. And I honestly believe had all the witnesses shut up, they would have had a better case with just here's the phone activity, here's the cameras, there's a time difference here that correlates with the time it would take to do something to the body. Here we have him doing this. Here is, yeah, I mean, still a circumstantial case, but then she would have had to focus on the actual evidence instead of pushing her narrative.
Let's see. You ready? Okay. We're going to switch laptops here so that we can then focus on.
She has to have a second one. Her first one is so
Quick
cluttered.
start.
Let's see how messy her desktop is on the other one.
We need that. Okay, there we go. All right. What was our time element on this one?
5:55 a.m.
Okay. Before we play this, may the record reflect that I'm showing counsel what's been marked as State's Exhibit number 25. May I approach, Your Honor?
Yeah, here's the thing. I believe that the defense have standing objections, and the judge runs a tight race. Now, I do believe she's pushing too much when it comes to her. When she asks the witnesses questions, she narrates it to get a short yes or no answer instead of explain, and then they can testify. And at some points, I see this officer, Detective Obert, just staring at her as in, Jesus Christ, lady, what are you doing?
I spent 6 months giving you this case and you're doing this.
Yeah.
Yes.
How do you recognize State's Exhibit 25?
DVD with a quick start video footage on it.
All right. And this is the one that has a
I think
different format that
Dali's
requires us to use.
picture is frozen.
Yeah, it requires the player that was downloaded with the video. content.
And does this then reflect
Either that or he's
the
extremely
relevant
good at
activity
sitting
of that
still
maroon Chevy Impala passing by the Quick Start
and not
during
moving
the early
his
morning
lips
hours
when he
of
talks.
July 10th?
It does,
What time?
at 5:55 a.m.
Your Honor, the state would move to introduce state exhibit number 25.
No objection, Your Honor.
Exhibit 25 will be admitted.
And then, Your Honor, may we go ahead and play this footage?
You may.
All right, go ahead and set the time again for me.
The maroon Impala is seen heading westbound on 53rd Street at 5:55 a.m.
Where should we be looking in this video?
in the top left corner.
Oh, now she's clicking frame by frame. Good choice. Every question she asks is extremely leading.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, I think we lost Sal.
All right, let's go ahead and take ourselves back to the day of July 10th of 2020. You've done the interview of Henry Dinkins, correct?
That's correct.
Your next interview would have been?
With Aisha Langford.
Then your next interview would have been?
DL.
Okay. And then, of course, during your interview of DL, we've talked about just different things that he told you. But what developed during the course of your contact with DL?
We conducted a ride with DL, myself and Detective Hamas, and that led us down to Credit Island.
All right. When you arrived to the area of Credit Island, describe what developed.
An area was pointed out where the defendant had said to walk over to. We went over there, observed fresh footprints in the mud area around Credit Island. Evidence tech was dispatched to help process that area.
Who was our civilian crime scene technician that came to the area to process it?
That been Joe Foster.
All right. Detective Obert, I'd like for you to look at the whiteboard. Do you recognize an area that's been drawn that will be relevant to this testimony?
Yeah. They use one and the same whiteboard for every drawing, every sketch. And then at some time, at some point, someone used a magic marker, so they couldn't erase it.
90% ethanol, rubbing alcohol will work because I use wet erase markers.
I think that happened on day 3, and nobody has still. And instead of actually, I mean, you can write everything out and then print the diagram of the apartment of this and that. But no, she makes them sketch it.
Or it's also called there, and you know how I learned that? It's called YouTube, because I got the murder board, secondhand, and it had, some residue on it. And all I had to do was click on YouTube, and I just did how to clean whiteboard.
Yeah.
And it's almost like magic. Or, you go to Ask Jeeves. This woman probably has Ask Jeeves. And listen, also, Stella Rose also has Ask Jeeves.
Hey, I wish it still existed.
And
But,
they just type in, Jeeves, how do I clean whiteboard? And they figure it out.
Hand sanitizer.
When she's not drinking it, allegedly.
That explains her performance in the court.
Or use vodka. I mean, honestly, I'm set for the next incurable sniffles of pandemic levels.
Just stock up on toilet paper.
The next person that looks at me like I'm a horrible person because I'm getting 2 packs of toilet paper. No, I got 8 people in my house.
Yeah, I mean,
that's what you got sleeves for.
I saw people buying, jumbo packs of the jumbo packs, and I was like, you need, for me as a one-person household, I can buy like 12 pack, and that will last me a good time. And if I run out, I have a shower. You don't have to have big
It's
hay
almost
bales
like
of
people
toilet paper.
survived. It's almost like, and I know it's a scary thought, but washcloths and bleach do exist.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, is there any dignified way to buy like toilet paper? Because it comes in like 20 packs.
And for some odd reason in Sweden, a whole lot of people bought dry yeast. As
Dry
if
what?
any of them, dry yeast for baking.
Yeast?
As
Really?
if any of these people knows how to bake.
Like every
Because
country
I
has
saw-
like
Yeah,
weird.
and
We
and-
focused.
this is the weird part. They bought dry yeast, but nobody bought flour.
Yeah.
they're all distilling shit. Y'all know
Yeah.
you all went into distilling crap. I
Wow.
have jugs. I went into winemaking. Y'all know you went into just making booze. It's okay.
Yeah.
We can all admit it now. You were fermenting the shit out of some grape juice. It's okay.
Yes.
Explain
Okay.
the alcoholism.
You've got your pointer right there behind you. And then if you could, show us what area you were directed to by DL. Okay. For our written record, just to describe that, if you are driving on River Drive and you use that access road coming onto Credit Island, would it be located on the west or the north side of that access road?
It'd be on the west side.
All right. Describe that area for our record.
The area I'm pointing to is kind of like gravel parking lot in a way. This is
Yeah,
I love their design.
now they're back to that freaking island, which the kid took them to because he saw his dad go fishing with 6 other guys.
Yeah.
And there's no evidence whatsoever besides the guy with the dog, with the cadaver dog, that said,
Oh,
well,
God.
the cadaver dog marked there and over there. Well, can you say when that trace was put? No, it could be a month, a year, decades. But that's also the dog handler, because where Henry Dinkins' RV was parked, they went there to search, is there any bodily fluids, traces of dead? And not at the RV, but in a camper van a bit away. And he explained that with, well, sometimes scent is being brought by wind. And I'm
Okay.
sitting there like, oh, but you can't, there have to be an origin of that scent. You can't move the origin of the scent to a new place by wind.
Don't
But
get me
that's what-
started on using dogs in criminal
Yeah.
investigations. It's
Hmm.
almost
isn't
Yeah,
a
it
close to a
more
mark.
the body language of the trainer?
Exactly.
I mean,
it
and that
wasn't
damn
recorded.
Carol Baskin.
Or how
It
many
wasn't-
cars there are. Like you have to give them like multiple cars to search
Yeah.
or multiple areas to search.
Yeah,
And the body
but-
language traits, it's
Yeah, and it was not recorded, by the way, so we only
Of
had
course
have
not.
the
Why would
dog
they?
handler's
Well-
word for it.
no, it's
I'm sorry, what year did this happen? In the dark age of 1984, or
Yeah.
like when everyone has a cell
2020, I think.
phone / computer in their pocket?
Yeah.
These people
Yeah,
are
yeah.
irritating.
And this, yeah, it's so. And when the mother testified on day 2, they had her reading in her phone records into evidence.
Of course.
Then on day 3, I think it was, they had one of the officers entering evidence into record. The evidence bags was already opened, and he couldn't testify to the chain of custody. And it was allowed. I
Oh,
saw
for the love of-
later, yeah, that was handled pre-trial. That he couldn't testify to it, but they have an affidavit to the person who opened it, and I'm like, I don't care. I really, really don't care. But I asked a few of the other law tubers, and I got the answer that you can do it, but it goes to the weight of the evidence.
Yeah.
it's not going to be thrown out, but it goes to the weight of the evidence. And since it's a judge and not a jury, he knows how to address that and give it less weight.
And then what's
wonder,
labeled
though,
Mississippi River is
if
more
a
just
jury would
runoff
give it
water.
less weight.
Depends on the time of year and how much rainfall, how full that gets, or it can sometimes get close to being dried out. And then just south or north of that, it's overgrown foliage or sometimes just mud. Again, depends on how much runoff is in that area. And then further to the west, there's a little tree line here, and it starts getting heavily wooded.
All right. Would it be fair to say that it's heavily wooded along that runoff area on both the north and the south side
Yes.
of that area? All right. Did those footprints take describe the path of travel of those footprints for us, if you could?
They were east to west.
Okay. And then one thing I would do is I want you to come down to the door, and I want you to take this blue magic marker and just give us a general perspective of the path of travel of those footsteps.
I mean, they could have this on a map. Why do they have to be drawn out?
Yeah, I'm confused. Don't courts now have those little like pads where you can actually see the map, and then you can draw
Certainly.
on
Go ahead
them?
and take your seat.
Tree line?
Categories.
I
This
believe
is
we discussed
bad
this on
dictionary.
Friday, but let's go ahead and let's talk about the surface of the location where DL indicated that Mr. Dinkins stopped and parked the maroon Chevy Impala. How would you describe that surface?
Again, kind of depends on rainfall or the time of the year or the runoff. But that day in particular, it was pretty muddy just because of the rain that we had the day before.
Okay. And to be clear, are you talking about the area where we saw the footprints?
Yes.
All right. Now, where the vehicle would have pulled off to what you call that gravel area, was that muddy as well, or was there just a lot of gravel there?
Yeah, they found footprints and a kid's flip-flop. It was determined the flip-flop had nothing to do with it, and they can't tie the footprints to the defendant. They spent an entire day with the testimony about these footprints, which they can't
Okay.
tie to the defendant. They only by the kid's story they can tie the defendant to that place. But the kid's story changed and added to everything contradicted each other. Everything he said, he had something that contradicted it. But according to the kid, who was 8 at the time and now is 11, everything he says is true.
Okay, so I hope to God they have an expert witness that's going to explain that this is totally normal, that kids will give you a bunch of BS answers that make no sense.
Yeah.
And that you should totally go with it, because otherwise the judge is going to have to go with the kid has spouted a bunch of BS that has nothing to do with anything.
Yeah. And
you've wasted all of his time, which I would be annoyed. In fact, I would have called her into quarters and said, why the actual F are you spending all my time? In fact, bring up the kid one more time and we're going to have issues, ma'am.
Yeah, and this is because this prosecutor is so desperate in proving that the kid's story is correct, that she will bring in more or less anything. And she does.
Well, you said she was elected in what, 22?
Yeah.
So I mean,
she November 2022 was the election was earlier, but she took that place in November of 2022.
So she has to run again in 2 years.
Yeah. So if she manages to,
I would think she would rather have a conviction than the kid is right. I mean, am I wrong here? Am I the voice? When did I become the voice of reason? When Mo is the voice of reason, things have gone very wrong, you guys. I am here for internet funnies and making fun of people's hair.
Yeah.
And I said this, I mean, maybe late day one, I said, oh, they are going to fork this up completely. And so far they have.
They did not disappoint.
No, and because I believe that there's enough circumstantial evidence to convict this guy, but the prosecution is doing their everything to fork it up.
Yeah, like he probably did it, and a decent, even a bad prosecutor should be able to do this and
Yeah.
make it stick.
Even Binger could do this,
Yes.
and I
Post
don't trust
Rittenhouse, he
Binger to
could
do
do this.
anything. Lunchbox could do this, which is upsetting to me because Lunchbox can barely do anything.
Except eat. Too
Yeah.
soon.
Yeah.
No. He's
Yeah, but we are trying to catch up so we can start watching this
Right.
trial live. This is from day 8. They finished day 12, so we have a bit to catch
sorry.
up.
We'll shut
No
up.
worries.
It's just gravel. It's not like you're sinking into any of that portion of the ground over there.
This gives rise to another discussion that I'd like to have. Going back, when we had discussions about the maroon Chevy Impala after it had been seized, and it had been raised to have the gas tank dropped for purposes of determining the amount of gas in it, what was noted on the undercarriage of that vehicle?
There was several areas where there was mud clumped under the undercarriage.
Okay, where did you park your vehicle when you went down to the area of Credit Island that day on the trip with DL?
In that gravel lot that I explained.
Okay, did you know anything as far as your vehicle sinking down into mud or having a lot of mud collected on your tires?
No,
All right. That being said, though, was there a request made for soil samples to be collected along that area?
near that area, yes, a request was made, and FBI agent did the collecting of those soil samples.
Who was that FBI agent?
Cameron Smith.
All right. Then I'm going to just go ahead and jump ahead to the events of July 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th, and 19th. That massive canvass that was conducted there along Highway 30 in Clinton, once it was determined that the child had traveled to the Walmart with his father. Were there soil samples collected out there along Highway 30?
Yes, and that was done after the test ride with DL.
All right. Were those soil samples sent in to the FBI laboratory for analysis?
They were.
All right. Now, just very simply, are you aware of the results of that analysis for Credit Island and for the soil samples collected along Highway 30?
Yes.
All right. Once Breasia Terrell's remains were discovered, were there soil samples collected in the area of Kunow Implement?
There was.
Okay. And do you know who had collected those soil samples?
FBI agent McMillan.
Were those soil samples submitted to the FBI laboratory for analysis?
It was.
Are you aware of the results of that particular analysis?
Yes.
Are the results of the analysis for soil samples?
Here's the thing. That result is what the expert should be testifying to. She's asking this guy because she doesn't want that expert question, because this has happened to other experts. Once the defense starts questioning, they start to talk about margin of error and stuff like that. And the prosecutor really, really hates that. And now we are talking soil samples.
Which is one of the things that got Anderson convicted. The, obscurity with DNA.
Yeah.
At Kunow markedly different than the results of the soil samples collected from Credit Island and along Highway 30.
Objection called.
Yeah, it's called for speculation. And also narrative and everything else leading, because she's so desperate to get everything in the way she wants it. So she asks the question containing all the details so she can get just a yes or no. And it is so infuriating.
For hearsay lash foundation.
Sustained.
All right. Now, from there then, where did DL direct yourself and Detective Hamist to next?
In regards on July 10th?
Yeah.
That was the only place that we went that day. It was down by Credit Island.
Okay. How about in the area of Schmidt Road where the RV was located?
As well as the area of where the RV, yes.
Describe why that was an area important to the child.
Because that's where the defendant's motorhome was parked, and it said that they went there sometime that morning.
Okay. And then was there an item of evidence that the child had described either in an interview to you or Detective Hammis that later formed the basis for a search warrant executed by Detective Patrick Sievert of the Davenport Police Department?
Yes, DL, when he spoke with Detective Hamas, talked about a long knife being wiped down, and then that's what indicated detectives to say they did see a long knife in the motorhome.
All right. So as far as the child's descriptors of going to Walmart, was that corroborated?
Yes,
The child's descriptors of there being Clorox that his father used, was that corroborated?
yes,
The child's descriptors of having placed the battery back into the cell phone while Mr. Dinkins was in the Walmart, was that corroborated?
yes,
The child's description of Mr. Dinkins having gone over to the area of Credit Island, was there physical evidence to corroborate that?
the footprints, yes.
Okay. And then the child's description to law enforcement.
But the footprints couldn't be connected to the defendant.
I was about to say,
So it's not corroborated. It's cooperated with. I hate this. I hate this so
I
much.
smell burnt toast. Did she also almost lose a 67 Corvette at some point?
And a vial of blood from evidence locker.
Oh,
I mean,
Lord.
yeah. So far, we don't have had any medical examiner on the podium or on the stand, testifying anything about Briasia being stabbed. They have concluded that she was shot.
Okay, so she was shot, and for them to say anything about the machete, was there any dismemberment, or did they kind of determine that was maybe more animal involved?
She was discovered 8 months later, so she was out in the elements the rest of summer, fall, winter, and she was found in spring.
Okay, that makes,
and it was skeletal remains.
okay,
Most of it in one place, but not all of it.
that's that's horrifying and sad,
Yeah.
but why is she focusing this? Ma'am, make it make sense. I need any of this to make sense.
And here's the thing: if the medical examiner can't testify to stab wounds or stab marks or anything of the sort, then everything about that damn knife has been for nothing.
Yeah.
Because they found no blood on the knife, so they explained that with, well, the kid says he wiped it down with bleach. Yeah, but so far no testing because bleach leave traces on the knife.
Yeah,
you can scrub the knife and then test that this is the remains of bleach. But then also the girlfriend has testified to, and this was in summer of 2020, the height of the pandemic. There was bleach everywhere.
Yeah, probably
so even with that, it might not even matter, but she wants the kid's testimony. And yes, the Walmart cooperate, and most stuff. But Credit Island, no, because the footprints can't be connected to him.
Yeah, that's where I'm not getting. If the mud matches, then we can talk. If the mud matches, if there's any sort of connection there, but if the body wasn't found there, if this makes no sense, if this is a tangent that you just went on for a tangenty reason, just why and why? I need it to make sense. I need it to make sense. And so far, you have made no sense, and you're irritating the hell out of me because this is the same thing they did in the widower case. They had nothing. They had nothing to link this man to the gentleman that went into the house. So what they did, they rapid fired a shit ton of irrelevant information to make it look like they had a bunch.
Yeah. Here's the thing. If you heard him, he said that the kid said something about a knife. Well, here's the thing. It was a full-blown machete in that motorhome. But the kid calling it a machete, not until very, very... But then if you're 8 years old, everything is a knife. So
Yeah.
and also he knew his dad had knives. It was in Andrea's apartment. The kid has been to that motorhome before because the motorhome is the defendant's actual home, not the girlfriend's apartment.
Yeah.
Yeah,
This is all of the stupid.
yeah.
Going back to that trailer and there being a large knife that was wiped down, was that corroborated?
Video footage has them there that morning, and then detectives locating a large knife on top of the microwave, yes.
Okay. What further involvement did you have with DL that day?
There was little done with DL the remainder of that day. I stayed down at Credit Island and helped search the area.
All right. Let's talk about that. How long were law enforcement officers down in the area of Credit Island on July 10th?
Till approximately 9:30 p.m.
Okay. While you were down there, was there an item of evidence, or I should say, was there an item located out there that law enforcement thought may be associated with Breasia?
Yes, sandal / flip-flop was found down in Credit Island by one of the detectives, and so we wanted to do some follow-up with that.
What was the color of the flip-flop?
I'd have to refer to
The flip-flop wasn't Breacia's. The flip-flops were found at her remains. So the footprints and that flip-flop has nothing to do with this case. It's she only brings this up in a desperate attempt to make the kid's testimony make sense. And she fails, in my opinion. She's ruining this case, in my opinion.
It
photograph that was taken.
It seems like a weird thing to bring up. Again, it seems like a lot of things to bring up that don't make sense in context. Again, you have a solid case with what you have. Don't muddy waters. Don't do it.
I mean,
Especially
just
when
see
you have a
how,
bench trial.
Yeah, just look at how little time she spent with the actual evidence, with the car driving by, even if it's a bit hazy, you can still have it with cell phone activity and everything else. Maybe she will go to that, but for me, let's pass that over because let's talk about this island that probably had nothing to do with it.
All right. Give me a moment. Your Honor, may I approach the witness?
You may.
Please let the record reflect that I'm directing counsel to the previously introduced exhibit of 3-139 and 3-140. May I approach, Your Honor?
You may.
We previously introduced photographs taken by civilian crime scene technician Foster. I'd like to look at State's exhibit 3-139 and 3-140. Do you recognize that item of evidence?
Yes.
How do you recognize that item of evidence?
It was a flip-flop found down in the area of Credit Island on July 10th.
What was the color of that flip-flop?
Pink.
Was that a descriptor that had been provided by Aisha for potential footwear the child would have been wearing when Mr. Dinkins picked her up while Miss Langford was at work?
Yes, according to Aisha, that possibly could have been the color of the flip-flop that she had with her.
Okay. With that a flip-flop being located, were steps taken to either confirm or disaffirm that this was a flip-flop that would have belonged to the child?
That is correct.
Describe.
Myself and Detective Hammis drove up to Danita Gardner's residence to make contact with Aisha Langford to show her a picture of that flip-flop to help her confirm or deny if it was, in fact, Breasia Terrell's.
How late in the evening was it?
Approximately 9:30 p.m.
At that time, was it dark?
It was.
Where did you locate Aisha?
Just outside of the apartment complex of Danita Gardner's.
Okay. And describe then, well, let me ask you this. During that contact with Aisha Langford, were body-worn cameras being worn by yourself and or Detective Hammis?
That is correct.
All right. Did it capture her reaction when you showed her that flip-flop?
It does.
Okay. Has that segment of the body-worn camera been taken out and placed?
Here's the thing. The remains were found with both flip-flops. So if the mother has a strong reaction to that flip-flop, what's going on?
Yeah.
Seriously, what the freak?
Placed on a disc.
It has been.
Have you had a chance to review that?
Yes.
And does that accurately depict what occurred when yourself and Detective Hammonds responded out to the complex where Danita Gardner lives and where you spoke with Aisha about that flip-flop?
That is correct.
Your Honor, may the record reflect that Attorney Counsel is remarked State's Exhibit 140. May I approach, Your Honor?
You may.
I'm handing you what's remarked as State's Exhibit 140. Do you recognize State's Exhibit 140?
Yes.
How do you recognize State's Exhibit 140?
DVD with Detective Hammonds' body cam footage from July 10th of myself and her showing Aisha Lankford the picture of the flip-flop.
Okay. Your Honor, at this time, the State would move to introduce State's Exhibit 140.
I have no objection.
Exhibit 140 will be admitted.
May I publish this, Your Honor?
You may.
Haha. Connect cable.
Well, we're going to be gone for 30 minutes because you know she doesn't know how to do that.
No, she's calling.
I don't know how to do that.
now. Little Mark, can you tell me what's going on? It says no cable connected right now. Have you plugged in the cable, Grandma?
Set the stage for what is happening here.
Oh, there we go.
Myself and Detective Hammonds have been out of a city vehicle.
We can be
So they
outside.
made contact with Aisha.
You know where we can also get some more printouts of, we got some flyers there. We're about to go out and hang out. Where we could get some more? Like, printed, because my cousin, she ran out of ink.
I know Quick Start might have one of those things where you pay like a quarter or a copy or something like that, if that's something you want to look into.
Okay, so this is at the morning. DL's mother took him home. Later that day, they took him on a drive with mother in car, and he then tried to point out places they had been. Walmart, yes, but that's actually collaborated with. But he also pointed out a bait shop, and that damn island with mom and cops in car. So I believe we have a case here of a kid who probably he stayed up through testimony up until about midnight at 8 years old. Then was woken around 5:30 probably. He claims he was woken up at 3:30. I don't buy it.
I'm trying to use the cursor. It's too tight.
Out.
I'm not tight.
Well, don't tie your knots so tight. What is wrong with you?
That was bad.
Not muted.
Oh, sorry. I thought I muted.
No worries. But so he has been in the car trying to please mother and cops by telling things like, my bet is he woke up at Walmart, saw his, oh, dad's going into Walmart, plugged in the phone, playing some games, which is actually
Yeah, that was.
we know that. We know
Yeah.
that happened. And then he claims he saw his father rinse off a big knife with bleach. Well, they have. Here's the thing: they claim to have photo or surveillance of that, but you can't see the kid. So my bet he was asleep, because we only have testimony about that, and the only testimony is on that surveillance over the RV place. They saw him go out and secure the RV. Not that he rinsed something off, not that he went inside. I hope they will show it so we can see, did he really rinse off anything?
Yeah.
I hope we have it, but I can
Not
almost bet
expecting it.
cash on you can't see it. Yeah, so yeah.
So there was a flip flop that they found down there, and we just want to make sure if it's something she would wear or not. If it was hers. Okay?
But we know it wasn't the real flip-flop.
No, I don't think that was.
No.
Oh, that was an interesting reaction. She said no. So why do they keep bringing the freaking flip-flop into this? If mom says no, why have they spent hours and hours and hours on that damn flip-flop?
Unless they, well, yeah, I mean, if they thought the mom was deceptive, then yeah, go investigate it. But
yeah,
no other reason.
Quick.
Oh, sorry.
No, I'm
Yeah.
done.
Start with that, and then tomorrow during the day, I'm sure one of those copy places.
Sure, it's
and
all over
even if you
Facebook.
talk to them and you show them, I'm sure they'll be even willing to do something.
For free. That's what I was saying.
That's what I would.
But we already, going to put them out. But that's a blessing. That's a blessing.
So
Thank you.
we're going down to the station. So with everything,
No, that's not hers.
so there's behind the scenes type stuff. Okay, we're doing search warrants. We're doing pinging the phones. Okay. But we have his mobile home down there. The FBI is down there. Everybody is working on it. Okay, it doesn't end. Okay.
I know, but it's 9:31 and I haven't heard from her. There's no way. I know, Juju. I know. No, that's not her shoe. It's
No,
not her
we
shoe.
just had to make sure. Okay.
Yeah, but we appreciate it.
Read.
Okay. I can't go to sleep with that. Like, what the fuck? It's 9:30 and she's nowhere. Nowhere. I can't even talk to him. What the fuck, man? She's dead. What the fuck?
Detective Obert, based on just what the child had showed you down in the area of Credit Island and where the RV was parked, was there any video canvassing that was done down in that area?
Yes,
Describe.
there were several detectives that went out and recovered video footage from businesses and residential areas. Some of them included Jack's Break and Alignment, which is near Schmidt and River Drive, as well as Perina, which is near Schmidt and Rockingham Road, Devon Self Storage, which is for in the 2000 block of West River Drive, and then Sarah Lowe's residence, which is 2358 West River Drive, was also canvassed and video footage was recovered from there.
Okay. We're going to go ahead and erase what we have on the diagram, and I'm going to have you draw the location of those various addresses so that we have some perspective of where they're located relative to the RV and Credit Island, okay?
Why draw? There has to be aerial photos.
Google Maps exists. I'm terrible bad at technology and everything, but even I know Google Maps exists. Sir.
I mean, this is...
She reminds me of my third grade teacher. She's going to spend 30 seconds cleaning the whiteboard. Oh, you missed a spot, ma'am.
No.
All you have to do is
Come
cover
on.
that magic marker with a dry erase marker. You color over it with a dry erase, and it will. Why must I be the voice of reason?
Would it be fair to say that we actually have some aerial maps of that area?
Oh my God.
We do.
I think so that we can really understand the locations of everything without having to look at all of the busyness of the aerial maps. Let's just do a basic diagram, and it'll be easy just to understand the relationship of locations to one another. Now, as you draw that map, go ahead and give us an illustration for River Drive, but don't say anything, just draw it, and then give us our legend for our directions if you could. And then you know what, if you need me, I can hold that board out so that you can draw that.
That's fine the way it is.
Okay.
Yeah, she continues to
Why didn't
erase
she
stuff
fully
we
erase everything?
previously testified to. I mean, Maybe it's a tactic because she doesn't want the defense to use her stuff.
I mean, I'm with Sal.
Oh.
Usually I'm full on state. You can go pound sand. But this is not the case I want the state to,
Humiliate
screw up
themselves
royally
with.
on. And Kim Walker, she has an entire pack of bobby pins, but I can't tell if she has a Karen haircut or if her hair is long. The question really is how much Aquanet did she use? And is she and her entire generation responsible for the ozone layer? And I contend yes, because White Snake was a thing.
Then you want me to start marking kind of the motorhome and then where the businesses of significance would be with the video footage?
Yes, place Sarah Lowe's residence, Jack's
Nice to
regular
see
alignment,
arts and crafts
Devin's house
time in
storage,
court.
the Purina, and also the Hy-Vee on Rockingham. So if you can incorporate Rockingham, that would be beneficial too.
That's a tall order, miss. I refuse to call her Mrs. because I refuse to think of her tormenting a man.
No, she only has cats.
Yeah.
When I say that as someone with two.
Detective Obert, while you're drawing the diagram, I want you
Diagram?
to give us a perspective as well of the location of where the RV was parked before it was seized through a search warrant, relative to that red and white trailer where James Peters' canines alerted under the trailer to the odor of the volatile organic compounds.
Yeah. So they didn't find it by his RV where it was parked, or they claim they marked at the headlights for some kind of remains, but that something could have crawled up there and died. I mean, it's so stupid. It's embarrassingly stupid. And that trailer belonged to a guy who had moved to Florida. Never questioned.
Yeah.
Because he refused to answer his phone. I mean, if a cadaver dog alerted for remains under an RV, I kind of want to question that guy who owns that RV. Why is there traces of remains under your RV? But no, he didn't answer his phone, and that was that. That's definitely not up to scale, because that's a big, if that's the entire parking lot, that's a big freaking RV. This is
not
so
even
stupid.
to scale.
This is so stupid. This is, I mean, this is so stupid.
You're convicting a man of murder with arts and crafts time.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It's embarrassing.
This is painful.
I got the question earlier, if I were the defense, what witnesses would I call? I would call the kid again.
Yeah.
And then I would have an expert of memories of kids saying how badly the police conducted with the interview.
Given
with
the diagram that you've drawn, for purposes of our written record, north is located where on that diagram?
On the top.
South?
On the bottom.
If you're looking at it to your right?
East.
And to your left?
West.
All right, show us where River Drive is located at. And River Drive, of course, runs what directions?
East-west.
Credit Island, where is it located relative to River Drive?
South.
All right, and then show us Credit Island. Now, if you were to drive out of Credit Island, is there, can you cross River Drive and will there be a street right there?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
Yes. So let's say I'm going to leave Credit Island. Can you just simply cross River Drive and continue on a paved street?
No.
I'll do this then. Is there a bait shop?
There is.
Show us where the bait shop's located. All right. And then Sarah Lowe's residence, where is it relative
This is nowhere
to the
near
entryway of Credit Island? If you're
the
there, getting
nowhere
ready to come
near.
up and
We're
you're facing
talking
toward the north.
It's gonna be to
half
the
a
west.
All right.
mile.
How many houses down from the bait shop would Sarah Lowe's residence be located?
I believe there's 3 or 4.
Okay.
That separate the two.
What is the, well, where was her video camera fixed to?
The corner of the house.
And then give us the perspective of that camera as far as capturing any activity going on or off the island. For our written record, what have you indicated?
The general.
Right here, there are no
camera
mistakes.
direction
There
of
are
what it
only
would capture.
happy accidents.
Tell us what that means for our written record.
Yeah, but
If somebody
here's
were
the
to read
thing.
the written record, they don't know what that is.
The camera faces
For
to
the
the
love of
southeast.
all that
It
is
covers
holy,
River Drive and
Google
then
Earth
portion of the
exists.
entrance of Credit Island.
All right. Now let's go east on River Drive. If you're traveling east on River Drive, what would you say the distance is from the entryway to Credit Island to Schmidt Road?
Why have
Like
you
we
done
discussed
this
on Friday,
to
it's
us?
approximately 400 meters.
Sure. All right. Schmidt Road
400
then,
meters. That is
if you turn on Schmidt
quarter
Road,
of a
what
mile.
direction would you be heading?
North,
Okay. Schmidt Road runs what directions very simply?
north-south.
And then all of the businesses that we're going to be talking about, does it lie on the east side or the west side of Schmidt Road?
They're all on the east side.
All right. At the corner of River and Schmidt, what's our first business?
Jack's Break Alignment.
Where were the cameras or a camera affixed that would capture activity we're going to be discussing?
There's several on them, but the ones that we will be discussing cover Schmidt Road.
Okay. All right. And then just show us so that we've got a perspective. All right. Now, if you've turned onto Schmidt Road heading north, what is the next location of relevance to our discussion?
743 Schmidt Road, which is the lot where the defendant's motorhome was parked.
Describe this lot. What's it used for?
Looks like storage for other vehicles. I know on the day of July 10th, not too far from the defendant's motorhome was like a party bus. And then there's several other vehicles there. There was one other motorhome. And then there was the trailer that you mentioned where the cadaver dog alerted.
All right. On this diagram, have you shown us a general location where Mr. Dinkins' RV was parked?
Yes,
Where is that on the diagram?
it's labeled with a triangle and it's almost in the center of that lot.
Where was that red and white trailer where the cadaver dogs alerted when deployed by Jim Peters?
It was to the northeast of that trailer. I would approximate it to maybe 25 to 30 yards away from the defendant's motorhome.
All right.
Yeah, 25 to 30 yards away from the motorhome at a completely, that's where the cadaver dog marked, under the trailer. And they actually tried to explain it away with wind could pick the scent over there. And yeah, maybe, but not the origin of the scent. You can't move the origin of the scent to another place by wind. It has to begin somewhere. And then what the dog does, what I've been told, they pick up the scent from somewhere else and then they go to where it originates. And it originated from under that trailer, whose owner is in Florida and refuses to answer his phone, so they haven't questioned him. Who knows? Maybe dad took daughter out on a ride and then that guy took her. This is so stupid. This is so stupid.
With the winds then blowing in a southwest direction, would that have placed that vehicle in a location, I guess, further from that? If you're blowing the southwest direction, would the winds be blowing toward the area of that mobile home?
For the most part, yeah.
All right. Now, where is Devon Self-Storage located?
It's going to be to the east, and then it's going to be off of River Drive.
All right. Is there a difference in the video surveillance cameras at Devon Self-Storage versus all the other locations we're going to be talking about?
Yes, what's recorded is captured by motion. It's not a continuous feed.
All right. So because of that, then, does it capture specific points in time that you have to then take and then interpret based on the other cameras that are a constant feed? Well, was there a specific activity that was captured on Devon Self-Storage?
Yes.
All right. And then do you take the times of that captured activity, that captured movement, and then evaluate that based on what you see?
Oh yeah, the handler of the cadaver dog claims that the dog marked at the lining of that maroon Impala. You know what they didn't do, the officers? They didn't took a sample from that liner where the dog marked to send off to testing.
Of course not. Why would they? The
It's
dog
so
told them it's there.
Yeah.
Relative to the other cameras where it's a constant motion, constantly recording.
Yes, drawing connections between activity that is captured on the lot and then comparing that to what's seen on Jack's brake alignment or Purina.
Okay, where's Purina on this diagram?
It's going to be to the north of the lot. It's going to be the top portion of the drawing, and it's going to be near Rockingham and Schmidt Road.
All right, is it right there at the corner of Rockingham and Schmidt?
It is.
Where are the cameras located that were picking up activity?
One of them's on Schmidt Road, and then there's also another camera angle that captures Rockingham Road.
All right, and then where does Hy-Vee come into play?
In regards to this investigation, we have that vehicle at 8:14 a.m. heading north on Concord and then east on Rockingham.
All right. The Hy-Vee parking lot, what street does it face? The front of the store?
It faces Rockingham.
Is there a parking lot over to the west side of it?
There is.
Where does Concord run relative to the Hy-Vee?
To the west of it, then it's north-south.
All right, and then you have given us a time frame of 8:14 a.m. in the morning. What is the first point of contact between Mr. Dinkins and Aisha Langford?
Approximately 8:08, 8:09 a.m.
And what is that?
A text message from the defendant to Aisha saying, call me.
All right, and then from there, then do we have the telephone conversations that play out after 8:08 and up to the time when she calls the Davenport Police Department at 8:29 a.m.?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Go ahead and take your seat.
Yes, she overcomplicates.
Detective Obert,
She has a narrative.
with each of
And she won't
these
deviate from that
locations,
narrative,
were the
no matter
dates
what the
and
evidence says.
time counters checked to see if they were accurate?
Yes.
What was determined?
Some of them were accurate and others were not.
Did you create a diagram setting forth all of the locations that we're going to be taught or that we've talked about and identifying whether they were accurate or inaccurate and how much?
If you're referring to a spreadsheet that I put together, yes.
Okay, all right. And then did you then put corrected times on?
I mean, look at this poor detective looking at the prosecutor. I mean, that look says it all about what he thinks about this prosecutor. And he does it from time to time. And he corrects her when he can, but then she goes off again with this narrative that she's trying to prove, no matter what the evidence says.
Yeah, and what he basically just said is, yeah, all that gibberish you just talked about, I made an easy to understand flow chart, you weirdo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How often?
It's called Excel.
Yeah. So
How often
this
do we
guy has, yeah.
Go ahead.
This guy has prepared everything in a spreadsheet. Every movement he believes he can prove. And she has him draw on a freaking board.
Oh my gosh.
How often do we see detectives screw up an investigation and get humiliated on the stand? And this is the first time I've seen a detective get pissed that the prosecutor's screwing it up.
Yeah. I think he can prove everything he says.
Yeah.
The problem is the prosecution wants him to talk about everything else because she has this narrative.
Jesus.
that spreadsheet as well for activity that we'll see?
I'd have to look at what you're referencing,
Sure.
because there's several different made by different detectives, so
Okay,
I can't say for
absolutely.
certain without seeing what you were referring to.
Your Honor, may the record reflect that I'm showing counsel what's been marked as State's Exhibit 154.
Yeah, Adam, it is not guilty until proven innocent. Here's the thing. I believe
Looking at State's
he's
Exhibit
guilty.
154,
That has nothing to do with it. I think
is there a column that's been removed that would put forth the names, addresses?
I think there's enough circumstantial evidence that will get me there beyond, that can get me beyond reasonable doubt. The thing is, I'm still waiting for it. I've heard inklings and reference to it throughout this first week, but the prosecution is doing their utmost. She's doing everything to make me doubt even the good evidence.
Yeah, I've seen prosecutors blow really cases they should not have brought.
Yeah.
But this one, like, this poor girl was murdered unalive.
Yeah, that's what I don't get. If I were a prosecutor, and this is my big case. This is my case. I want to win. I was elected, and this is my case.
Yeah,
it's like I need to win this because I'm elected, and the voters are not going to let me get this wrong. What the heck are you doing, ma'am? Her thought process here. I want to interview her just to get her thought process because it makes no GD sense. I'm trying not to cuss because the boys are in a Christian school, and y'all know I am going to let an F-bomb out like in chapel. Y'all just know
CPS will be called again.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to avoid it.
Corn Pope is watching the kid's testimony, and I believe she's now at the cross-examination. And oh my God.
Yes, Corn Pope.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go back and binge watch all of this because just this is like, I don't, and this is where Nick and Sal, I'm right here. I feel like they've got enough to convict on circumstantial, and I'm getting afraid that they are going to lose this. This man is going to.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
I'm afraid this man is going to walk. I'm so.
Yeah. Who was the one up in New York? He was the one that he unalived 2 children. They got him off with manslaughter.
Yeah.
He spent about 10 years in prison. Then they kind of snuffed that out on his record. And then he went on to unalive a bunch of women of payable pleasure. But they basically bungled his first case. I'm afraid that this is going to be that case, and we're gonna have bungled this, and then those lives are going to be on her shoulders, and she's not going to take responsibility. She's going to be like, I did my very best. I don't understand what went wrong.
Of course not. No.
Yeah, and this defendant, the only conviction he has is that when he was 17 and did something with somebody below the age of 13. So he's on the registry. Every other conviction is either him ignoring he has to report in where he lives,
he wasn't
or cooking meth, selling meth, gun charges. Yeah.
Okay, would it be wrong as a society just asking out loud, thinking for a friend allegedly in Minecraft, Fortnite, and Tetris, if we start adding things to the chemicals that one would buy from local Walmarts to create this Breaking Bad thing, if we start adding more flammability to these chemicals so that it's even more of a crapshoot to make it so that we have more explosions. I'm kind of on the full burn it down accelerationist path this week, so perhaps listening to this particular Mo is
very Darwin.
The one that you. I'm full on Darwin awards, so I say adding full on gasoline to whatever products and just letting nature sort it out is okay with me at this point.
Yeah, and I found out yesterday that he has been charged with murder before until the cops discovered that he was just a witness to a murder.
Well, I feel better now.
Well, I mean, if you live a life of crime or even not bordering on criminality, you're going to be exposed to elements that it could happen, but it is still very suspicious.
Yeah. and none of his priors, including what he did as a 17-year-old, is allowed in.
No, and it shouldn't be.
Well, no, I mean, we have to have the same. Again, I can think he's a total d-hole. I can think he's totally guilty, but we need to keep the same standards.
Yeah,
because
and
if it were me, I'd want him to have the same standards.
Yeah,
unfortunately.
And I told my viewers and the chat early on, I think they have enough. That was before I knew he even had a prior. So
Yeah.
Let's move on so we get
and telephone numbers for the individuals associated with each of these addresses.
Yes,
Okay. Outside of that, do you recognize what's depicted on State's Exhibit 154?
I do.
What is State's Exhibit 154?
It's a list of the businesses that were of relevance in the investigation, along with the times on those video footage cameras that the vehicle is seen or something of evidentiary value. Then also the evidence item number that the video footage was submitted into as well as a timestamp differential column where it's noting if it's slow ahead of time or accurate on the timestamp.
How many columns do we have setting forth information? To our left, what information do we have?
The location and then time frame and then evidence and timestamps of 4 columns.
Okay, all right. Do you have accurate times documented for
Yes.
activity that was observed? All right, and then is there a column that identifies what would be the inaccuracies as far as those video surveillance cameras being off?
So the time I put in this spreadsheet is the real time, not necessarily the time that you'll see on the timestamp of the video footage.
Okay.
And then the timestamp column shows if it's fast or accurate or slow.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that clarification. And then have you made adjustments then so that we have the accurate times on exhibits that we're going to be looking at?
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time, the statement moved to introduce State's Exhibit 154.
Exhibit 154 will be admitted.
Detective Over, I'm going to hand you what's been marked as State's Exhibits 39 and 40. And I want you, let me show you something else. Do you recognize State's Exhibits 39 and 40?
I do.
What is State's Exhibit 39?
It is nighttime activity around the defendant's motorhome and of the businesses that I drew up there earlier.
And was there activity that you captured that you associate with that motor Chevy Impala?
Yes.
Going to State's Exhibit 40. What is State's Exhibit 40?
It is activity around that same location, but in the morning hours. So from 8:14 a.m. to approximately 8:27 a.m.
And does this involve activity associated with that motor Chevy Impala and Mr. Dinkins or DL?
That is correct.
All of the information that you have documented, does this include aerial views of this location?
Yes.
And then have you captured segments from the video feeds for each of these locations and overlaid these on the map so that we know what activity occurred at specific times?
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time, the state will move to introduce State's Exhibit 39 and 40.
Since we're in a bench trial, no objection.
Exhibits 39 and 40 will be admitted.
See, they have a map.
You may.
Why? Oh, Jesus
All right, Detective
Christ.
Over, I'm going to have you come down off the stand, use the pointer, and adjust your microphone.
You have been using this GD whiteboard and you have gone to Kinko's.
Let's
Man,
go
you
back
are
to
one way
Mr.
to get
Dinkins' interview.
to the center of the
with
sun.
the information.
Yeah.
So they do have a Kinko's in Iowa.
Oh my God, look at the detective's face. The detective's face is a meme. Has anyone seen the meme of the very, very disappointed or exasperated Indian father? I believe he's in like a sporting event, something or other, but he has like a puffy vest on and he looks very disappointed with you. Like you're trying to explain to him how you didn't get an A in calculus, but a B plus is kind of like an A if you look at it, sort of.
It's almost an A.
He's over here like
as a prosecutor.
He's like, I could have been an accountant. I really could have. What the hell am I doing with my life?
I spent 6 months of my life investigating this, and
3
this is what you're
years.
doing. 3 years. Okay, I'm sorry. I spent 3 years of my life preparing for this.
Yeah. And
she had this in the
he's-
sidelines, and she kept making him use the GD. Like, I'd have just walked out. I'd have been done at this point. I'd have taken my badge. I'd have gone full Dirty Harry at this point before they
this would have
even
been,
got
nope,
like
nope,
Cagney or
nope, I'm
Lacey to
out.
come
Yeah.
in.
I mean, seriously. And he is also starting to realize that almost every case he has, major crime, she will probably handle.
Oh God, he's like, if I had hair, it would turn white and fall out.
No, he'd have pulled it out by now. That's why he's bald.
That's why he doesn't have eyebrows. He's plucked
On
them
day
out.
On day one, he had hair. I mean,
he's like a parrot. When he's stressed, he plucks out his hair.
All right. Hey guys, I will be back, but I am taking my oldest to the DMV. So we are going to get a driver's. So
no, prayers
I
are
will
with you.
see you all later.
Yeah. Great.
And have fun with this man's slow descent into madness. I can see him possibly starring in Falling Down to the Michael Douglas Revengeinating.
Yeah.
So I will be back in a little bit, guys. Have fun with this. Oh my gosh, this is terrible. He's going to go home and office space a whiteboard. You know
he's going to get arrested for drunk driving tonight.
No, he's going to get arrested for going into office space and taking a baseball bat to all the whiteboards. Bye, guys.
Bye. This is...
It's not funny, but it is.
Yeah. Let's see if I can do this now when we are two. There.
Here we go.
Yeah. There we go.
Information provided to you by Mr. Dinkins in his interview, and then the times provided by Andrea Culberson about when she woke up and when Mr. Dinkins returned to the apartment and she saw Briasia standing outside the car. Did those three components provide, I guess, the basis for times that you would have looked at video surveillance down there along this area of town?
When the light duty officers were reviewing video footage, they were reviewing all hours, so during the whole night. But these ones where there's activity is what we noted from that.
Okay, so you're looking at anything from the morning of July 10th, starting after midnight and going on.
That is correct.
Okay, and as of midnight, would we have had Mr. Dinkins, Briasia, DL, and Andrea there at the apartment still?
According to their statements, yes.
All right. Walk us through then what it is.
She says they were at the apartment, and he immediately goes, according to their statements. I don't think he believes any of the witnesses in this. I think he believes that everybody is lying about everything.
I'm sure they are.
Yeah, they probably are as well. So I'm wondering, what investigation did he want to put forward, and what
He seems like a really good cop.
Yeah.
He seems like he cares about the truth, wants to get to the bottom of things.
Yeah, this is the evidence we have. I know the kid's story. I don't buy it, but three of the 425 things he said matches actual evidence. Please, let's stick with that. And prosecutor says, no. We will go with 50 of them.
And, yeah, they're the ones who
then
charge
use
him.
innuendo, because I believe the judge is an idiot. It seems like the experts are here that they have presented, actual experts, not the dog handler, but the FBI agents, this is what we did, this is what we found out, this wasn't according to evidence. And this cop, I feel bad for this cop, because I think had he been able to steer the prosecution to the actual case, this would have been a 5-day trial and a conviction. Yeah.
That you noted through activity down in that area.
The first recorded activity footage we have is at 2:13 a.m. We have a dark colored sedan traveling north on Schmidt Road. Then the next recorded activity is at 2:29 a.m. You can faintly see headlights leaving the lot of where the defendant's motorhome is. What I'm pointing at now is where the defendant's motorhome is. And what I'm pointing at now is the headlights are kind of the movement that potentially causes the Devon self-storage to start recording motion.
Okay, let's go back to that first box, the 2:13 a.m. What video surveillance equipment is picking up that activity?
Wait, why does it says 2:29, 2:49? So it must be an hour off and minutes, because according to testimony and other records, this doesn't add up. But according to testimony, he was out and about before 3 a.m. So yeah, let's just look at the clusterfuck.
Jack's brake and alignment.
All right, so then we've got a sedan traveling what direction?
Northbound on Schmidt.
Okay, so if it's traveling northbound on Schmidt, would it be going past Jack's and then heading toward that lot where the RV was parked?
That is correct.
All right, and then is there the associated activity within the parking lot of 743 Schmidt Road where the RV is parked?
That is correct.
All right, because of the lighting at night, are we able to discern anything about the vehicle?
No.
Okay, can we tell whether or not it's a sedan or a pickup or a larger vehicle?
Sorry.
From the Jack's brake and alignment, we can determine that it's a sedan. We do not have much information from the Devon self-storage angle.
All right, now the other thing that I'd like to talk about, movement at 2:13 a.m. where the vehicle's traveling past Jack's, but then we have it motion activated at Devon self-storage at 2:29 a.m. Is that vehicle coming in or leaving the lot at that time?
The 2:29, it appears the vehicle is leaving the lot.
All right, so then what is the time a frame that we're talking about between 2:13 a.m. and 2:29 a.m. when that vehicle is leaving the lot?
16 minutes.
16 minutes. What do we note further after 2:29 a.m.? What's the next thing that we're seeing?
At 2:30 a.m., sedan, given what we see at 2:13 a.m., looks almost identical to this 2:30 a.m. vehicle, and it is southbound past Jack's brake and alignment. And then
that's the
next
far for
activity
just
at
a minute
2:31 a.m.
later.
Again, looks almost identical to the vehicle that was there at 2:13 a.m. One reason on my belief is you can tell one of the headlights is brighter than the other.
Gotcha.
And that's what leads me to believe it's the same vehicle. And then it's back northbound at 2:31 a.m. on Schmidt Road.
Okay, so
That's a fast
going
fucking
out
car.
at 2:30 a.m. south and then coming back north again on Schmidt Road?
10-4. That's correct.
That's correct. That's all right. It's like the farm boys coming out, right? No, I don't know. All right, then at what's our next time element?
The next activity we have is at 2:49 a.m. Devon self-storage. You can get a little better glimpse of a vehicle leaving the 743 Schmidt lot. Lot.
All right, can we draw the same correlation as we did earlier between 2:31 a.m. and 2:49 a.m.? What is our time elapse?
18 minutes.
In the 2:49 a.m. with Devon self-storage, is that vehicle entering or leaving the lot?
That vehicle is also leaving the lot.
Okay, so is the activity consistent with what we described earlier when we saw that movement at 2:13 a.m. from Jack's brake alignment, and then we see a vehicle leaving Devon's, or the area where the RV is parked at 2:29 a.m.?
Yes, it's almost identical type of activity.
All right, what's our next activity that we observe?
Sedan traveling south past Jack's brake alignment at 2:50 a.m.
Okay, so if it's traveling south, then is it heading toward River Drive?
It is.
All right. At 2:50 a.m., then following 2:50 a.m., do we see any activity on River Drive in the area of Credit Island?
We do.
Describe.
At 2:51 a.m., we have a vehicle entering the Credit Island, and this is viewed from Sarah Lowe's residence at 2358 West River Drive.
So if it's entering Credit Island, then what direction would that vehicle be traveling?
South.
All right. And then let's talk about this photograph, okay? What do we see up in the upper left-hand corner of that still image?
That's a street light.
A street light?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Then let's go to the next activity.
It's 2:53 a.m. Sedans leaving the area of Credit Island northbound towards River Drive.
So in 2 minutes, they claim that he
If you were
made
to
those
drive around
footsteps
Credit
and
Island, does that time element seem consistent?
If you were to drive around the entire loop of Credit Island, it would take you more than 2 minutes to do so.
Okay.
I mean, again, it could depend on speed, but going the appropriate speed, it would take you a few minutes.
All right. Your Honor, the state, I moved to introduce this.
I mean, yeah, it's weird that he drives out there, but what does it actually prove if neither the footprints or
Looking at State's Exhibit 240, what is the time element that we're going to see active here?
From 8:14 a.m. to 8:27 a.m. on July 10, 2020.
All right. What's our first documented activity that's being shown through still images taken from various video surveillance cameras?
8:14 a.m. The Maroon Impala is seen north on Concord and then east on Rockingham Road, and this is captured from the Hy-Vee at 3019 Rockingham.
What direction is the vehicle traveling?
Eastbound on Rockingham.
Would that place it on a path of travel toward the area of the Purina plant and Schmidt Road?
It would.
Okay. Let's go back and let's talk about I-280. If the vehicle had traveled south on I-280, could it go along River Drive during this period of time?
There was some construction that wouldn't cause to be able to fully be able to go on the River Drive without some sort of detour.
Okay. Was Concord a street that could be utilized to get around that construction around to the area of Credit Island and the RV?
It's possible.
Okay. All right. Now, 8:14 a.m., the vehicle's traveling east past Hy-Vee. What's our next documented activity?
8:15 a.m. The Maroon Impala is southbound on Schmidt Road, past Purina.
Okay. What is our next documented activity?
At approximately 8:16 a.m., we have the Maroon Impala driving south past Jack's braking alignment.
All right. And so would that place it going
it's really
toward River Drive?
speeding around town?
That is correct.
What's our next activity?
There are not stills with it, but we have a noted 8:18 a.m. of a sedan that dark in color that's could be consistent with the vehicle that we see here at 8:16 a.m.
And where is that picked up at?
Officer Lowe's
This is
camera,
after
and the vehicle would be entering Credit Island.
What time did the vehicle enter Credit?
this is after being up to the Walmart and stuff. There's really the skipping in the timeline. I mean, why does she do like a few hours, well, an hour ago in the testimony, or even yesterday, they were talking about stuff that happened in and around 7 a.m.
Yeah.
Now they are talking about what happened 2 a.m. and 8 a.m. plus minutes. She's actively trying to confuse. And I mean, this is a bench trial. It's a judge. You don't have to muddle the water. It's not a jury here that you are trying to fool.
Island?
8:18.
And then what time did Sarah Lowe's camera pick up vehicle associated with that same vehicle?
At 8:22 a.m. The vehicle appears the same one from 8:18 a.m. is exiting Credit Island and going on to River Drive.
How long would the vehicle have been on Credit Island then?
Well, approximately 4 minutes.
All right. From there then, where does the
She's
maroon
both
Chevy Impala travel to?
prepared and
The
underprepared.
next confirmed sighting of the Chevy Impala is 8:22 a.m.
Because the
Jack's braking
damn
alignment
kid
going
on his
northbound.
testimony
So it's turned
started
on
to
Schmidt Road
add
at this
things
point?
and change
And then
things
from there,
again.
where's the vehicle picked up at?
In the lot of where the motorhome is at 8:23 and 8:24 a.m. As you can see in this still photo, there is the defendant, DL, and then the maroon Chevy Impala right next to the motorhome.
Okay. In that photo, can you see if the
4:58.
trunk's open or not?
The trunk's open.
All right. And then from there,
The next movement we have recorded is that maroon Impala going northbound past Purina
Okay,
on
now
Schmidt
we are
Road
at
at
4.
8:26 a.m.
all right. And then from
It's
there,
24:58.
The maroon Impala
8:20.
is now going east on Rockingham Road from the Purina camera at 8:27 a.m.
all right. With it traveling east on Rockingham, Aisha Langford indicated that she then subsequently observed Mr. Dinkins in that maroon Impala traveling up on Locust, heading east at a high rate of speed, where she would have done a U-turn and started to follow him and then had contact with him at the McDonald's. Given its direction of travel, is that a direction of travel that you could take to access Locust?
Yes, it's possible.
All right. Now, I want to go down into that lower corner of this exhibit. Can you explain what is depicted there so we've got a perspective?
What I'm pointing at is the FBI CAS data, cell phone records that FBI agent Rich Fenner would have testified to. And this one in particular is Southwest End activity of the defendant's phone number from 8:07 a.m. to 8:19 a.m.
Okay. And that is consistent then with what we're seeing from the video surveillance cameras?
It mirrors what we have from the video.
All right.
Cameras.
Let's go back to State's Exhibit 39. Did you have information about whether or not the defendant would have his phone with him when Andrea woke up at 3:30 or 3 in the morning?
The defendant would have not have had his phone.
Oh, good. She's got more fucking exhibits.
No.
Excuse me. I would be fine with that. We'll be in adjournment for 15 minutes.
I mean, seriously, lady, you have people drawing up stuff and you have everything printed. I mean, this is so stupid. And both Marcus and Snivels, yeah, she only has one playbook. And she does it no matter what. And she only knows how to be shady, how to make shit look like gold. Here's the thing: she has gold in this case. She has good circumstantial evidence, and she muddles it with absolute crap. Did she prepare this before she knew it would be a bench trial rather than a jury trial?
Yes.
Probably.
They decided it would be a bench trial like the day or two before it started, from what I recall.
Yeah.
Which
was a good call.
Yeah.
Good call for the defense.
Definitely. But you still should be able to roll with it. I mean,
yeah.
Adapt. That's what trials are. They're not scripted. You have to evolve.
I mean, exactly. They're not scripted. And as someone who was mad at me on Twitter, who claimed that they thought I was stupid, and because the trials are rehearsed. And that's the typical law and crime audience.
Yeah.
Who actually believe they do rehearsals before trial. That's
maybe a mock jury, but that's not. You still don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, there's a grand jury and everything. And sometimes I don't know if it was in this case.
Yeah.
But this is the actual trial, and
yeah.
Make shit look like gold. Yeah, I have a few. This is me direct translating some Swedish proverbs. I have a few of those. Yeah. Don't buy the pig in the don't buy the. We have. You have this. Don't buy things unseen. And in Swedish, directly translated, don't buy the pig in the sack.
Fair.
Yeah. Which means more or less, in the old days, if you have a salesperson with a sack, I have a pig in here. I'm going to sell it to you for $50. And you say, wow, that's cheap. And it's a bag of kittens. So that's why you shouldn't buy a pig unseen or a pig in the sack. Yeah, let's skip forward until they are back.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically a rehearsal. Yeah, but this is actual trial.
Yeah. I mean,
I
right
don't
now,
care. Yeah, and even if it's rehearsed, yeah, but that they don't rehearse.
the
The state
witnesses.
doesn't rehearse with a mock jury with the defense
Yeah.
in that room. I mean, and yes, the defense have seen all the evidence. Yes, the state should have seen all the. Oh,
Sorry, my cat.
yeah, they have all the evidence beforehand. But again, the judge says this is in, this is out by motions. And then you still have this mishap from the kid who testified on day 2,
Yeah.
who in his
can't-
testimony said things that has never been told before.
And you can't plan for that even with a mock jury,
Yeah.
unless the
Yeah.
kid is there, but the kid's not going to be there to help you. But I mean, they can be very valuable. I mean, like Rittenhouse had 3 mock juries. 2 of them he testified, so they could like decide if he was
Thank you,
going to
Your Honor.
testify
The
or
state
not.
would ask to go back to State's Exhibit 23, the thumb drive, and then play the video segments for the locations down on the area of River Drive and Schmidt Road.
You may.
Thank you.
River Drive and Schmidt Road.
All right. The first video feed will be from Jack's Brake and Alignment. Is this the activity that you described of the vehicle traveling north?
Yeah.
That's correct.
Here's the thing. There is a tiny possibility that he was actually out looking for her. And there's testimony that she saw Brescia by his car is a complete fabrication.
Yeah.
It might actually be that. We don't know. But there's a lot of circumstantial evidence that says not really probable.
And what was our time frame there?
2:13. On this timestamp, it's 3:13. It is an hour ahead of real time.
Okay. As we look at that vehicle, and I'm going to go back and play that again, just looking at the shape of the vehicle, the placement of the lights, and what we had seen in other video surveillance, does there appear to be a consistency in just the shape?
It's a sedan and appears dark in color.
All right. And then was the vehicle then traveling toward 743 Schmidt Road where the RV was parked?
Yes.
All right. Our second video feed. All right. What would be the actual time here?
2:30 a.m.
And what direction is the vehicle going to travel?
South.
Now, is this the gap in time that we noted when we were referencing the surveillance camera at Devon Self-Storage?
Yes.
All right. I'm going to jump out of this and let's go to Devon Self-Storage so that we can place that contextually.
Up in the top left is where you see those headlights leaving the area of the lot.
I'll be right back.
Okay.
A few minutes. I'll be
If you
back in a
could
couple
stand
minutes.
up, take your pointer
Okay.
and show us where the RV is at. All right. And then show us the area where we are going to see headlights leaving the lot. Okay. I'm going to bring that down and bring it back up again so that we can watch that again. What was the time of this?
2:29 a.m.
All right. Does this fit within the first time element of 2:13 a.m. at Jack's Brake and Alignment when it's going north? And then when we see that vehicle coming back south?
Can you ask the question again?
Yes. So going back to our 2 Jack's Brake and Alignment, the first video shows it going north at what time?
2:13.
The second video shows it coming south at what time?
2:30.
And then what's the time element of this?
2:29, so it'd be within that window.
Gigi's here. Hi, Gigi.
We're going to go back to Jack's break in alignment. What do we see happening here?
The sedan north on Schmidt Road,
At what time?
2:30, 2:31 a.m.
Wait, did she say "oh shit" into microphone? That's in. Oh, congratulations! That's on the record now.
And what do we have happening here?
The sedan traveling south on Schmidt Road towards River Drive at 2:50 a.m.
What is the time elapsed between 2:31 and 2:50?
19 minutes.
Okay. Now, is there that similar activity that we observed earlier from Devon Self Storage?
That is correct.
Okay. And what do we have here?
Seeing a vehicle leave the lot and head out towards Schmidt Road,
And what time?
2:50 a.m.
Okay, and we're going to go back and we're going to start that all over again. And then as we're looking at this, can we get a sense, just with this still photo, what kind of vehicle it is?
Dark sedan.
Okay. Is it coming from the area of the RV?
Yes.
And as far as just the shape and what we see for headlights and tail lights, is that consistent with that vehicle that we've seen traveling on Schmidt Road past Jack's break in alignment?
Yes.
Okay. We're going to go back to Jack's break in alignment for activity that morning. What do we have happening here?
The Impala is driving south on Schmidt Road.
At what time?
8:16 a.m.
Okay. In the daylight, we can see basically the lines associated with the structure of that vehicle. As you look at the lines of this vehicle during daylight, does it appear consistent with the lines of that sedan that we are seeing in the night?
What lines are you referring to?
Just stop and look at, like if you look at the lines of the vehicle and how it's structured. Okay.
The outline of it, yes.
Yeah, the outline of it. All right. And I'll play that again, just so that we can look at that. Does it appear consistent with the outline of what we're seeing in the vehicle in the dark?
Yes.
Okay. Now let's go to our next one. What are we seeing here?
Maroon Impala going north on Schmidt Road towards the 743 Schmidt lot
At what time?
at 8:22 a.m.
Okay. I'm going to play that one more time, and I'm going to ask you if you're able to see anything in the vehicle with the dark tint.
You cannot see into the side windows of the vehicle because of the tint.
All right. Now let's go ahead and let's jump back to Devon Self Storage so that we can draw the correlation between this activity.
So
Yeah, it's a possibility that
What do we have here?
was with
the Maroon
Southeast,
Impala parked next
came
to
home.
the
Where's
motorhome.
my kid? Out
Shortly
again.
You'll see DL and the defendant exit out of the motorhome.
And is the trunk open on that vehicle?
It is.
Does the child go around the front or the back of the vehicle?
It goes around it.
All right. And so then the child would have walked around the back of the vehicle with that trunk open?
Yes.
Would that be fair to say?
That would be.
As far as the photographs that were taken by crime scene or our civilian crime scene technician, Jill Foster, had she taken a photograph of the trunk with the lid open just so that we could see what was immediately apparent?
That is correct.
All right. Was there an axe that was immediately apparent?
There was.
All right. Did this particular footage fall between what we saw as far as the path of travel of the vehicle going
This will sound
north and then
horrible,
coming back south?
but
Yes.
unless the ME has to testify there is
We'll go
a
to the
shocking
high view.
box on Briatia. Because if it isn't, holy crap. We still haven't
What are we
heard from
seeing
the
here?
medical examiner,
You're
by the
going
way.
to see the Maroon Impala traveling north on Concord, approaching Rockingham Road.
Okay.
The vehicle's traveling east on Rockingham.
What was our time?
8:14 a.m.
And so all of this activity occurs before what we've seen in Jack Breaking Alignment and Devon Self-Storage. Would that be fair to say?
Yes.
All right. Then in this video clip,
It's going to be the, you know, I can see a top left portion, but the Maroon Impala traveling east on Rockingham.
is this just after the vehicle has turned from Concord traveling east on Rockingham?
That is correct.
All right. Then we're going to go to Purina. Okay, gotcha.
If you try maybe VLC.
Yeah, I'm just, I don't have a mouse, and so trying to get the darn thing to do what it needs to do. Let me see if I can get it.
God.
There we go. After the vehicle travels east past High V, is this where we're going to pick it up next?
Yeah, south on Schmidt Road, past Perino, and there's the vehicle.
Okay. What was the time of this?
Approximately 8:15 a.m. The timestamp on that one, as you can see, is approximately 9.5 to 10 minutes fast.
Okay. What activity are we going to see here?
And the Impala north on Schmidt Road towards Rockingham at approximately 8:26 a.m.
And then from here, what are we seeing?
Be the Maroon Impala traveling east on Rockingham from Perino, video footage, approximately 8:27 a.m.
Would this place it heading directionally toward an area where you can access Locust Street?
Yes.
All right. Now let's go down to Sarah Lowe and her residence. In our first video,
2:51 a.m. Showing a vehicle entering Credit Island.
as we see this vehicle entering Credit Island, is that essentially the drive there onto the island itself?
Yes.
Okay. Now we see a street here at the top of the video. What street is that?
That is West River Drive.
Okay. And you indicated, what did you say the difference was in the timestamp here?
I'd have to refer to that chart, but I believe it's around 4.5 minutes.
Sure. Our next one. What time do we have it coming on?
This would be it leaving. So it's 2:53 is the actual time, but on the timestamp it's 2:48. So that'd be 5 minutes.
Okay. All right. If we take the activity from these two video clips and then we relate it to activity that we've seen from Jack's Break and Alignment and then at Devon's Self-Storage, where would this fall into play? And I'll do a little bit better job at that. So first round, we have it going south or north on Schmidt Road. We've got the activity at Devon's, and then we have it traveling back south. What was the period of time that we attribute the vehicle as being at 740 Schmidt Road?
Approximately 2:13 a.m. to 2:29 a.m.
All right. Now, if we go to that same activity where we see it going on Schmidt Road, it's motion activated over at Devon Self-Storage, and we see that vehicle leaving and traveling again on Schmidt Road. What is that time frame there?
2:49 a.m. is when it's leaving the lot.
Okay. And then so this activity here, would that then correlate with the vehicle traveling down toward River Drive and going on to Credit Island?
It could be, yes.
Okay. Now let's go to the morning. What are we showing here?
It looks like a dark colored vehicle entering Credit Island
What time?
at approximately 8:18 a.m.
And then our next one?
It's going to be what we believe to be the same vehicle that entered is now exiting Credit Island at approximately 8:22 a.m.
And again, are the counters right on this video feed?
No, it's 5 minutes off.
All right. Is this the 4-minute segment of time that it becomes very interesting given statements by the child about what happened down there on Credit Island?
Yes.
All right.
You stupid woman!
Let's go back to the defendant's statement in the interview. What did the defendant describe his activities being during the middle of the night of July 10th?
The defendant described going to 509 Taylor Street and not making any contact with anyone, and then also going over to the quick shop.
Okay. And then from there, how many times did he describe going back and forth to the apartment complex on Jersey Meadows?
It would have been those 2 times, and then the time to come pick up DL.
All right. During the interview, do you recall a point in time where the defendant mentioned that he may have gone out to his RV to get a couple of dollars worth of gas? Get a couple of dollars for gas?
That's correct.
All right. And would he give you any time element associated with that activity that he's describing having done that?
He wasn't sure if it was before or after meeting with Aisha.
Okay.
Yeah. Another great circumstantial evidence. He claimed he only had a few bucks on him, and that's why he went to the RV. But he was caught at 3:33 a.m. buying $35 worth of gas.
All right. At any rate, when we go through and we look at all of this video surveillance feed, do we ever just see a moment of time where it's motion activated there at Devon's self-storage and we don't see his vehicle anywhere else in that area? Did that make sense? It didn't make sense. That's okay. That's all right. Did you put together a timeline so that we could just go through and look at all of the events sequentially during the early morning hours of July 10th and going up to the period of time when Aisha Langford would have been advised her daughter was missing?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I should get a soundboard for the sound effects. I'll think about it.
Your Honor, may the record reflect that I'm showing counsel to mark this agency at 44 to 49. May I approach, Your Honor?
You may.
I'm handing you State's Exhibits 44 through 49. Are you familiar with each of these exhibits?
I am.
How are you familiar with these exhibits?
That was a timeline that I put together.
Does this set forth all of the relevant time frames associated with events that occurred after the midnight hour of July 10th and up to the point in time that the child then has been reported missing?
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time, the state would move to introduce State's Exhibits 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, and 49.
I offer no objection.
All of those exhibits will be admitted.
May we publish, Your Honor?
1 moment, please. If I could see counsel at the bench, please.
Okay. This is what one thing I like with this judge is that he asks for them either through objections, if the defense, okay, get up here. Then he will talk to them, then he will decide if what they talked about will be read into record.
You may.
actually, we went through and we corrected our numbers, so it's going to be 44-1 through 44-6, and then I'll put the appropriate exhibit markers on that after we finish this testimony.
And again, I assume no objection, right, Mr. Freese? The exhibit will be corrected to be admitted, exhibit number 44-1 through 6.
Okay, all right. May we publish, Your Honor?
You may.
Okay. All right, so going through this then, on State's Exhibit 44-1. Walk us through our timeline.
Sometime before 12 a.m., Andrea falls asleep and last sees the defendant on the couch at the apartment at 2744 East 53rd Street, apartment 8. Brasia is asleep in the bedroom while DL is playing video games.
Next.
At 2:13 a.m., we have a dark-colored sedan northbound on Schmidt Road past Jack's Break and alignment at 2160 West River Drive.
Next.
2:29 a.m., headlights leaving the lot of 743 Schmidt Road, where the defendant's motorhome is parked. This is captured from Devon's self-storage camera at 2070 West River Drive.
Our next entry.
2:30 to 2:31 a.m., the dark-colored sedan southbound on Schmidt Road, and then returns northbound on Schmidt Road from Jack's Break camera.
Our next entry.
Yes, Gigi. The prosecutor saw an episode of Dallas or Falcon Crest or Dynasty or whatever and decided, that's what I'm going to wear, that's my hair, and I'm going to keep it for the rest of my life.
2:49 a.m., dark-colored sedan leaving the lot of 743 Schmidt Road.
Our next entry.
2:50 a.m., dark-colored sedan south on Schmidt Road towards River Drive, captured from Jack's Break camera.
Our next entry.
2:51 a.m. to 2:53 a.m., vehicle seen entering Credit Island and leaving Credit Island from the Sarah Lowe's camera.
State's Exhibit 44-2.
See, she had a good timeline.
Our first entry.
At approximately 3
But
a.m.,
it took
Andrea
her
Culberson wakes.
fucking week to get there with lots of useless stuff, and she had this the entire time. She had it the entire time, and yet 2.5 hours on day 8. He spent the entirety of the afternoon on day 7, and they had everything lined up. Yes, I understand they need foundational. That could have been done an hour tops with foundationals, and then timeline, then pictures, then video. I mean, oh, Jesus.
Up and notices the defendant and Brasia Terrell are missing from the apartment.
Our next entry.
3:11 a.m. and 3:12 a.m., Andrea tries to call the defendant and notices his phone was left in the apartment.
Where does this information come from?
Andrea Culberson's phone records.
Okay. Our next entry.
Approximately 3:30 a.m., Andrea advised the defendant walks into the apartment, retrieves an unknown item from the bedroom closet, and leaves. Andrea looks out the window and sees Brasia standing outside of the Impala prior to the defendant leaving.
Our next entry.
3:33 a.m. to 3:38 a.m., the defendant arrives at Quick Shop in the Maroon Impala, 201 West 53rd Street. Henry purchases $35 of gasoline, 2 packs of cigarettes, and a lighter using cash. The defendant is seen leaving in the Impala, traveling eastbound on West 53rd Street.
Our next entry.
Approximately 4:30 a.m.
And then, you know what, this is a gap that needs to be filled later on. Just to jump ahead, were you involved in the investigation of Brasia Terrell when her remains were recovered?
Yes.
All right. Upon the discovery of her remains, were there news stories that started to come out?
Yes.
Okay. By virtue of those news stories that came out, was there a citizen witness who lived out in the area of Clinton that contacted law enforcement relative to events that were of interest surrounding the time that Brasia would have come up missing?
Yes.
Okay. So we'll skip over that. That gap will be filled later on. What's our next entry?
And I use approximately loosely for this because we don't have confirmation on this next time. Just knowing it's happened before 5:55 a.m. is that the defendant returns to Andrea's apartment to pick up DL.
Okay. What's our next entry?
5:55 a.m. Andrea calls the defendant, which lasts for 39 seconds. Dinkins the defendant's cell phone plots leaving the area of the apartment complex.
And where does this information come from?
Phone records.
All right.
Thank you, Gigi, for linking my PayPal. If you think, let's support this guy either by memberships or anything else. But if you don't want to give YouTube their 30-35%, you can use PayPal, who are somewhere between 2 and 8%, something. So you can use that. Thank you. Let's continue. And oh yeah, Sal, look at that. She had the entire timeline of events on boards all this time.
I can't.
I mean,
You stupid woman!
it's yeah.
Okay.
Look at this. As I said when you were gone, everything foundational about the video and the stills and everything could have been done in an hour. And then this, because this is more or less closing argument boards.
Yeah.
It's good that she uses it now, but I mean, this is why I say this trial should have been a week-long tops.
Yeah.
But it is a 5-week trial because she keeps bringing in shit evidence, shit circumstantials, crap witnesses, and she repeats herself.
Yeah.
And the different evidence over and over again to make, I mean, that fucking machete they have been bringing up, I mean, every day for an hour for the past week. You don't need that. It's,
At 5:55 a.m., Maroon Impala seen going westbound on East 53rd Street. That's the start 2050.
Our next entry?
5:57 a.m., Maroon Impala northbound on the 6100 block of Eastern Avenue. 6148 Wilson Circle camera.
Our next entry?
5:59 a.m., Maroon Impala southbound on 5900 block of Jersey Ridge Road from the 5915 Woodland Ave camera.
Our next entry?
6:01 a.m.
I'm guessing they are concluding his testimony and then it will be cross-examination.
Okay. Now, Andrea had testified that she had contacted Mr. Dinkins to indicate that there was another bag of clothing for the children that he did not take with him when he left with DL. And then when he returned, she indicated that she had actually gone down to the car to turn those clothes over to him, that second bag of clothes.
Medical examiner hasn't been heard yet, but through others' testimony, we know she was shot. And those were, as other has testified to, those were the cause of death. So we don't know anything about the machete yet. If the medical examiner sometime in the future testifies there are shopping marks on the skeletal remains, okay. You don't need 5 different witnesses taking an hour each on that.
Yeah.
Over to the defendant. Does that correlate with that entry?
It would.
Okay, what's her next entry?
6:05 a.m., the Maroon Impala traveling northbound in 5900 block of Jersey Ridge Road, again from the Woodland Ave camera. This video footage corroborates with the defendant's cell phone records.
Our next entry?
6:11 a.m., Maroon Impala, confirmed to be the defendant. The one the defendant was operating is traveling northbound on Highway 61 from the mile marker 124 camera.
Our next entry?
6:43 a.m., Maroon Impala traveling east towards Clinton on Highway 30 from Posh Farms, which is 6441 Lincoln Way camera.
Okay, I have connected my Twitter account to StreamYard, but I'm not exactly sure if I can show anything. What exactly
6:49
can I
a.m.,
stream to
Maroon Impala
Twitter that won't get
arrives
me
into the
yeeted
Walmart
from
parking
Twitter?
lot.
Yeah.
Henry, the defendant, walks up to the doors. The business is not open until 7 a.m. The defendant gets back into the Impala.
Our next entry?
6:54 a.m., Maroon Impala exits the lot.
Well,
Camera
I have
view
that
shows a front
option
seat
now,
passenger
at least.
believed to be DL.
Next entry?
6:57 a.m., the Maroon Impala re-enters them.
They had found one gun that belongs to Andrea, but it's the wrong caliber. That's it.
Of course.
And that's, yeah. So, but hence the bloody machete the kid claims to have seen. And, but they found the machete and no blood, no trace of blood found. Nobody has testified to actually, let me show you. It looked similar to the one I have, but mine is blackened. His was shiny. Nobody has testified to opening this part up and testing what was under, because no matter how much you wipe with bleach or anything, blood get everywhere. Yeah. So yeah, it's really strange if they didn't remove the handle just to test it.
And if you do clean up, there's then evidence that it was cleaned up.
Yeah.
So
but they didn't test it. They didn't test it for not remains, but traces of bleach. And that's yeah. Mine isn't dripping with blood either.
Well, maybe they just thought the kid's testimony would be so reliable they didn't have to.
Yeah, and then he started to testify to a lot of other things, and yeah, in a police interview, he said to the cops that he saw the defendant and Andrea kill Briasia. Now the prosecution and the detectives have cleared her. There's no way. So yeah, seriously. Yeah, because either way, kid says he saw the dad shoot her, but not cutting her up with a machete, which also is that's inconsistency, because why would he only see the shooting but not the cutting up?
Yeah.
So I say this again, and I've said it before. I think the kid was asleep in the car.
I'm sorry.
No worries.
No,
you
everything.
have a cat.
Yeah.
And I believe the kid was asleep in the car, woke up at Walmart, used the phone, stopped using the phone when he saw dad come out, and then he fell asleep in the car. Because this kid has had a max of 5 hours of sleep that night.
Yeah.
And now you're on a highway. Dun, 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 dun. That kid is so asleep. But he wants to please everybody around him, and so he started to tell stories.
Yeah. And, like an 11-year-old, or I guess he was, 8 then?
8 then, 11 now.
So
with a photographic memory,
yeah.
But once in cross-examination, if everything fell apart.
Yeah.
And I know I call him a little shit, but you can still hug him and tell him everything will be all right, and he's still a little shit for...
Yeah.
You know right from wrong when you're 11. You should, at least.
You should.
Now, Now, he's brought up in a household we know was drug-fueled.
Yeah.
That's not in evidence. And I don't think the defense were allowed to ask her about it. So, yeah.
Walmart
That's
parking
just,
lot.
The next entry?
Let's just go on.
6:58 a.m. to 7:10 a.m. The defendant enters Walmart, purchases 2 Clorox 81-ounce bottles of bleach. The defendant places the bleach into the trunk of the Impala and leaves Walmart. The defendant's cell phone pings off a tower in Clinton at 7:02 a.m. and 7:03 a.m.
The next entry?
7:10 a.m. the maroon Impala traveling westbound in 2600 block of Lincoln Way / Highway 30. This is from the First Central State Bank camera.
The next entry?
7:15 a.m. maroon Impala traveling westbound on Lincoln Way / Highway 30 from the Posh Farms camera.
Our next entry?
7:26 a.m. maroon Impala traveling westbound on Highway 30, and this is from the DeWitt Travel Center camera at 630 South 6th Ave, DeWitt.
Yeah, okay. I don't call him a little shit. I call him a little piece of shit. I don't know if there's a difference.
7:52 a.m. maroon Impala traveling southbound on Highway 61 from mile marker 124 camera.
Next entry?
8:14 a.m. the maroon Impala is traveling northbound on Concord Street and then eastbound on Rockingham Road from the Hy-Vee 3019 Rockingham Road camera.
The next entry?
There is testimony that he tried to have a relationship with his kid, and he was around the first 2 years of Breacia's life, and she looked up to him of sorts, but then he was in and out of jail and stuff like that. Yeah, that machete they showed is definitely not a good quality one. Mine is actually good quality one. So mine has tempered steel.
Most knives are like cheap and low quality. I mean,
yeah, and that's the thing. If he was using it to, here's the thing. Everybody here might not know. I'm a farmer. I have a farm. I grew up around farms. I know how to slaughter. I know much of what a farmer needs to know. If you use a knife as something to chop with, it will show on the edge of that machete or knife.
Yeah.
When you hit bone, if you don't have a tempered machete or knife, if it's not tempered, it will roll, it will break, it will snap, and yeah.
Just see my knives, and they're an okay, like $80 set, but I mean, they've got nicks in them and everything.
Yeah. Motorstrike the kid's testimony, is that possible? I don't think the defense wants to. No, the defense really wanted the kid's testimony just to make sure the judge knows.
Great.
Yeah.
For them.
Yeah. And Marcus, no objections was made during the kid's testimony, and I understand why. Because they wanted him to talk as much as possible. And during his testimony, things were said that he had never said before in any interview with the cops or the prosecutor. I mean, this kid makes stuff up. That's just it.
$8:15 a.m. maroon Impala traveling southbound in the 700 block of Schmidt Road from the Purina cameras.
The next entry?
8:16 a.m. maroon Impala travels southbound on Schmidt Road towards River Drive, captured from Jack's braking alignment.
The next entry?
8:18 a.m. to 8:22 a.m. dark color sedan enters and exits Credit Island. Cell data records puts the defendant's cell phone in that area.
Next entry?
8:22 a.m. maroon Impala traveling northbound on Schmidt Road from the Jack's brake camera.
Next entry?
8:24 a.m. maroon Chevrolet Impala in the lot at 743 Schmidt Road with the trunk open. The defendant and DL standing near the motorhome from the Devon self-storage camera.
We know from one of the sidebars that it was referred to a standing objection. So what probably have happened is that the defense has standing objections. So they don't really want to make speaking objections and stuff like that unless something is really, really necessary. So my guess is that the kid's testimony, the mother's testimony, more or less, they have standing objections already submitted to this judge. Since it's a bench trial, there's no jury that needs to be impressed. So they already filed their standing objections, but they do object on occasions.
8:26 a.m. to 8:27 a.m., the maroon Impala is traveling northbound on Schmidt Road and then east on Rockingham Road from the Purina cameras.
From there?
Approximately 8:42 a.m., the defendant meets with Aisha at McDonald's at 1733 East Kimberly Road, and she to give her DL.
Our next entry?
8:55 a.m. to 9:18 a.m., Officer Burkle arrives at the apartment complex, meets with the defendant, DL, and Aisha. Officer Burkle checks the immediate area and returns to find the defendant has left.
Our next entry?
9:33 a.m., the maroon Impala is traveling eastbound on West 53rd Street from the fire station number 8 camera.
Okay. Now, was there video surveillance footage that was collected from that area?
Yes.
Did you have a chance to review it?
As in the fire station one?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. And is that where this activity was documented from?
Yes.
All right. And from there?
11:46 a.m., the maroon Impala is traveling southbound in the 3700 block of Bridge Ave, captured from Puryear Law Firm at 3719 Bridge Ave.
Was there video surveillance footage that was collected from the Puryear Law Office?
Yes.
And did you review that?
Yes,
Does that footage document the activity that's described here?
it does.
And then what's the relevance of the location of Henry Dinkins' vehicle during this period of time?
That is very close to Nina McQuay and Helen Mosley's apartment complex. Cell phone records also corroborate this location.
Okay. And then finally?
12 p.m., the defendant arrives at the police station.
All right. Detective Over, let's go back and let's talk about that time element that you were noticing. When you had driven between mile marker 122 and the location of Posh Farms, driving the normal speed limit, how much time should that have taken?
Mile marker 124 to Posh Farms was 22 minutes and 30 seconds driving the speed limit.
All right. And then when you looked at the video surveillance footage from mile marker 124 with that Impala going out northbound to the point in time that it reached Posh Farms, what was the time frame associated with that?
32 minutes.
And then when you looked at it from Posh Farms with the vehicle traveling back west and then hitting mile marker 124 when it was going back south, what was the time frame there?
37 minutes.
All right. Given that there is a 10-minute and then again a 15-minute time discrepancy, when you had noted that, were you looking at areas just to the north of Highway 30 to try and identify locations where Breasia may be located?
Given those unaccounted for times, looking at a map, there was exits off those two roads that people could take. So from that, I'm trying to deduce how far someone could drive out to a location and back to make up for that unaccounted for time.
Okay, let me take you back to State's Exhibit 38. When you were looking at that variable, was it something that you were focused on in July of 2020?
July and August and the months after as well.
All right. Describe then how that directed your course of action.
There was searches that were conducted, one in particular on August 20th of 2020.
Tell us about that search and where it occurred at.
That was at Wendling Quarries, and can I approach to kind of point the general area of that?
Absolutely, if you would. So show us where Highway 30 is located, the junction of Highway 30 and 61. All right, where is Wendellin's quarry located relative to Highway 61 and the exit ramp onto Highway 30? North? Okay, turn the microphone so we can hear you. Is it further north on Highway 61?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Wendling Quarries is in that general area.
Is it on the east side or the west side of Highway 61?
West side.
All right. Describe what search was conducted or the nature of the search that was conducted of that quarry back in August of 2020.
It was along the road that it shares with. It was about a mile stretch. Detectives were on both sides of that. It was heavily wooded in that area. Detectives walked down about a mile stretch and looked for anything of evidentiary value.
And was there anything of evidentiary value found?
No.
And then when her remains were discovered on March 22nd of 2021, what would have been the additional distance from that location that you had checked to where her remains were found?
The distance between the two are a couple miles.
All right, go ahead and take your seat.
How do I really feel about this prosecutor?
You stupid woman!
Detective Obert, were you aware of Sergeant Pfeiffer and Detective Hammis ever having driven DL out to the area of Highway 61 and Highway 30?
Yes.
Okay. Relative to that drive, were you given any information about the child and directions that he wanted them to proceed? And if you don't know, that's fine. We can talk with Sergeant Pfeiffer and Detective Hammis about that.
One thing that was mentioned from them to me after the drive was done, notably from Detective Hammis told me this, is that when they were north on 61 and took the exit to go on Highway 30, DL told them no, to keep going, as in to keep going north.
All right. Now let's talk about March 22nd of 2021. Were you notified that 3 fishermen had recovered skeletal remains?
That is correct.
Okay, set the stage for that and explain.
The time was at approximately 6:30 p.m. I received a phone call from Sergeant Pfeiffer advising that remains were found in Clinton County near DeWitt, and that he was responding to go look at the remains in the belief that it could possibly be Breja Terrell. I then made the decision to also go up there. Sergeant Pfeiffer sent me a ping location, which was just south of Cunell Implement.
Okay, describe the scene when you got up to that area.
It was dark by the time I got there. I was able to go from a distance, observe the skeletal remains, and there was a flip-flop that was near the remains as well, and then also some hair.
Okay, was there something about the flip-flop that was of import to you?
Yes, it was blue and white in color, which was similar to what Aisha described as a possibility of Breja wearing.
Okay, and relative to the hair that was located in the area of the skeletal remains, was there something that you noted about the hair that was of import to you?
There was seashells in them. Again, another description provided by Aisha.
Okay, all right. Now, were you one of the individuals involved in maintaining the control of that site until the next morning when law enforcement officers and individuals from the state medical examiner's office and the DCI responded out there?
My responsibility was to leave there and go interview the 3 fishermen that located her. Scene security was discussed and handled by Sergeant Pfeiffer.
Okay, who were the 3 fishermen that you interviewed?
Jesse Dow, Brendan Rogge, and Eric Johnson.
Could you spell Dow spell Jesse Dow so that we got a correct spelling?
Jesse. Dow is.
Okay, they won't be calling them as witnesses, I hope. Whatever they said can be concluded if all they did was find her.
DAU.
All right, and then Brendan Rogge so that we've got a correct spelling?
BREND. I don't know if it's AN or O, and I have to refer to my records.
Okay.
And then last name is Rogge, that's ROGGE.
And then Eric, how does he spell his first name?
ERIC.
When did you conduct the interviews of the 3 fishermen?
Shortly after responding up to the remains on March 22nd, 2021.
And then following your interviews of those subjects, describe your involvement at the site on March 23rd.
On March 23rd, responded to the site where we had a mobile command center up, and then also caution tape up with an inner perimeter and an outer perimeter. And then my responsibilities throughout that day was to assist the anthropologist and her staff on clearing debris away from Breja's remains, and then they would help us determine what's of significance in regards to her remains and what wasn't.
Certainly. And then were you involved in any additional investigation on April 3rd of 2021 relative to the pond where her remains were located?
Yes.
Explain.
We had Big River Rescue Search Team respond out to that pond, and they conducted a search of it. During that search, a firearm was retrieved from the pond.
What type of firearm?
A revolver.
Okay.
38 caliber.
A 38 caliber revolver. When Breja's remains were discovered on March 22nd, and then we had the processing of the scene on March 23rd, did officers search that area for any type of casings?
Yes.
Okay. Now let's talk about the different types of handguns. Describe the 2 different types of handguns.
Semi-automatic and revolver or wheel gun.
Sure. If a semi-automatic is utilized, what happens at the point that the gun is fired?
Shell casing ejects from the chamber.
Okay. When her remains were recovered, were there projectiles located in the area of her remains?
There was.
Okay. By virtue of that, was the area searched for any type of casings?
Yes.
Were there any casings found?
No.
When the gun was recovered from the pond, what type of gun was it again?
Revolver.
And so then did that make sense that there were no casings found?
That would match. That'd be indicative of what we found at the scene, yes.
Okay. And when a revolver is fired, what happens?
The shell casing remains in the wheel of the gun, and has to be purposefully manipulated and dumped out in order to remove the shell casings.
Did this conclude your involvement in this matter?
Yes.
I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Mr. Freeze, it would appear that it would be best to conduct your cross-examination after lunch. An adjournment until 1:30.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay. Time for cross-examination. I feel bad for this detective. He really did his utmost possible to counteract the absolute crap that is the prosecution. No sound? I can't hear you. Check your
Whoops,
cable.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did his best. He seemed to really care about his job, and yeah, it's just really sad.
Yeah. Let's move on. Yeah, in 45 minutes, it's a Jody day. I will send you all over to the Jody stream. That starts on top of the hour. But we have 45 minutes until then. Let's see if we can get some of the cross-examination in before that.
Absolutely.
That's a long damn. Wait. An hour and a half lunch. Okay. Yeah.
Ms. Cunningham, you alert the court that you needed to address the court.
Yes, Your Honor. I had indicated that the state was concluded with Detective Oberst's direct examination. There were two additional matters that I did need to cover that I had forgotten to cover. So if I could, I would ask the court to allow.
You stupid woman!
Always annoys me when any attorney does that.
I mean, you should have everything on the paper in front of you. Here are the questions.
I mean, what more could you possibly have?
I'm assuming she wants to go back to something irrelevant.
God, she's the DA.
Yeah.
To reopen my direct examination of Detective Oberst.
That's fine by me. Thank you, Mr. Freeze. I appreciate that. You may proceed.
All right. Your Honor, may the record reflect that I'm showing counsel what's been marked as State's Exhibit 63, 64, 65, and 66.
An entire set of evidence?
Oh, good Lord, woman.
And
oh, nice ass. Okay. Just bend over, show your ass to the court.
And she puts the evidence on the bar between her and the audience.
Well, now we probably know why the evidence was opened in the first place.
Yeah.
Somebody grabbed it. Probably thought it was their lunch.
How can you forget all that?
Poor detective is going to have an aneurysm.
What is State's Exhibit 63?
'63 are the blue, white, and red size 11 Nike shoes that the defendant was wearing on July 10, 2020.
Was this at the time of your interview?
Yes.
All right. And then I've opened those bags for purposes of your testimony. So I would just alert you to that. What is State's Exhibit 64?
She's the one who opens the bags.
She just wanted to peek in there and see what they got.
You stupid woman!
Yeah, let's just move on.
64, it is the white T-shirt that the defendant was wearing when I had
So
that
she
interview with him.
forgot to admit all this evidence. She rested without admitting the evidence.
Yeah, no,
65 is the shorts that the
not
defendant was
rested,
wearing when I
but,
had the interview with him.
And
he
finally states
concluded
Exhibit
the direct
66.
examination.
Yeah.
But
The black head wrap that the defendant was
No,
wearing
Eric.
when I interviewed him.
Were those items seized from him on July 10th of 2020?
They were.
Okay. And then after having seized those items, were they placed in evidence at the Davenport Police Department?
I asked other law
Yeah.
tubers, and it goes to weight of evidence. It doesn't mean it gets excluded. But if they can't testify to chain of
Custody.
chain of custody. Here's the thing: if she opens it,
Yeah.
then she is now a witness.
She made herself a witness. You're right.
Now, if this had been a jury trial, that defense would have been all over it. But it's a bench
That would
trial.
have been great.
They know this judge knows about the rules.
They don't have to play it up.
Yeah.
That would have been great, though, for a jury trial in this.
Oh. What, am I getting downvotes?
Downvotes?
It's Saturday, and
oh, I didn't vote up.
I guess Law and C-word audience is here, and I'm not stroking their heads, going boogly 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 boo. Everything is going to be so all right, and don't
worry.
The prosecution is doing good. Oh, everything's. Here's the thing: if you're here from Law and C-word, I'm trained at this. I have an actual degree. I'm not a crime tuber. Now, I enjoy Sal and Mo, but they always admit that they're not trained. They're there to watch trials and do commentary. I have actual training in this. What infuriates me about the Law and C-word is they don't have any commentary. They look at their chat and sees, oh, look how many people are watching me. I would love have that amount of people watching my streams, but I'm here with an actual degree interpreting what's going on for you, so we can have a discussion. Now, I know if you believe I'm full of it, tell me, and we will have a discussion about it.
It's okay to have a different opinion. Just come with your facts and why you feel that way, not just
And I say it all the time. I believe he did it, but I need the evidence for it. And this prosecution is doing a horrible job at presenting evidence. I want justice for Briatia, and the best for her, for bringing justice to her, is to bring a case to trial that is actually in honor of her. This prosecution's this lady prosecutor is bad at her job. And if you don't like me for saying it, tough.
We want her to be doing good.
Yeah, we want her to be doing good.
One of the few times I want the prosecution to succeed.
Yeah.
And it's just not happening.
Yeah, and I do know I don't look like I have an actual degree.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
I'm in labor law.
Yeah,
I'm a union rep. We have certain freedoms, and 5 of my cases over 30 years of doing this has gone to trial, and then in the union we have specialized lawyers for that, so I don't have to. Mine is, my specialty is negotiations and individual workers' rights.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's a
So I
talent.
can
I
have
feel.
I can have my big beard and long hair if I want to. And if you watch my coverage of the Young Thug trial, RICO trial, there's a bunch of lawyers out there with long hair. Now, if I need to be in a courtroom, I will dress up for it and put up a ponytail. So, yeah.
There you go.
Let's move on with this tiny little things she missed in her direct examinations, like 5 huge bags of evidence.
I was just sitting there, she overlooked it.
Department.
That's correct.
Okay. Relative to the placement of those items in evidence, were they ever removed and sent off for any type of analysis at any laboratories?
They were sent to the FBI lab for analysis.
And then once that analysis was concluded, were they sent back to the Davenport Police Department?
They were. I picked them up from the field office over in Moline.
Okay. Were they placed back into our permanent evidence vault?
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time, the state would move to introduce State's Exhibits 63, 64, 65, and 66 into evidence.
No objection, Your Honor.
Those exhibits will be admitted.
The one exhibit I'm particularly interested in is State's Exhibit 65, the shirt. Could you please pull that item out of the evidence bag?
Very close.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
And excuse me, is that 65 or 64 for the record?
60, let me just double check. It's going to be, I'm interested in State's Exhibit 64.
Did she open the bags without gloves on? I mean, she's over-prepared and under-prepared for this trial. She's over-prepared in irrelevant stuff and under-prepared. And yeah.
That too, Chiji. At least he has gloves on.
Could you hold that item up so that we can see what it looks like? Relative to that shirt, what color is it?
White.
Does it have a label to indicate the size?
It does.
What is the size?
4XL.
And you were out at the scene where Briage's remains were recovered, is that correct?
That is correct.
Was there clothing that was recovered with those skeletal remains?
There was.
Did that include a white t-shirt?
Yes.
What was the size of that t-shirt?
4XL.
Okay, looking at the t-shirt, first of all, at the front, do you note any type of dirt? I mean, just of any sort?
Nothing blatantly obvious.
Okay, and then the back of the shirt, is there anything that you notice?
Yeah, I remember her trying to insinuate that in the body cam that, you can clearly see dirt. And it's like, lady, that's a 350-pound man out in the middle of the summer. He's going to sweat.
Just appears some sort of stain up on what would be the right shoulder area.
Okay, all right, I have no further questions relative to that.
On something.
Go ahead and package it back up.
Hang on to that shirt.
Okay.
Detective Obert, with that shirt again, inspect it for me if you would. Looks like a fairly clean shirt, would you agree?
Yeah.
It's worn, but it's for a white t-shirt that's like an undershirt. It's fairly clean, correct?
Yes.
You don't see any grass stains on it, do you?
No.
No tears from perhaps being close to a fence or a bush or something like that, do you?
There's one little rip on the back left side.
Okay, you can put it back in the bag now. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, I just assumed counsel was taking the witness on board ire.
Never mind. I'm sorry. I thought you were done, Ms. Cunningham.
No, that's okay.
What? You have to open it up, sir. There you go.
And just based on the observations of what Mr. Dinkins was observed wearing in that quick shot video, is that t-shirt significantly different than the t-shirt that he
Wait,
was
she's not
observed wearing in
done?
the quick shot video?
Quick shot was a wife beater or a white tank top as compared to this t-shirt.
Okay. Now, my final set of questions to you is this. In January of 2021, were you contacted by Clinton County authorities relative to individuals who had information to supply relative to the investigation?
That is correct.
Explain.
Two subjects. Well, one initially said that they had information in regards to something they overheard the defendant say. And then as a result of that interview, another subject was mentioned. And then I also interviewed that subject as well.
Jailhouse snitch.
Oh, God.
Maybe. Oh, for fuck's sake. Not that pile of garbage in this trial, too.
What are the names of those two individuals?
Matt Dean and David Baker.
Okay. Your Honor, can I have a moment?
You may.
How can you forget about 5 big bags of evidence and
Sitting.
2 witnesses who claims they overheard him say something? How
Yeah.
can he?
It's right there. Like the evidence is like when I went to the attorney trial, something you don't really see. You don't see all of the courtroom on the feed, but there was a table with like all this evidence that was just sitting there for the lawyers to pick up. It's right there. You see it. You have to introduce it.
They claim it's incriminating because he gave both the kids his oversized t-shirts to sleep in. And she was then found still wearing that oversized shirt. And they make a big fuss about it because the mother packed a lot of stuff for the kids in 1 or 2 bags, unclear what. And but it might just be that I don't have time to run through all that shit. Let's just put the kids in my oversized t-shirts and then go to bed, because a 4x XL on an 8-year-old kid and a 10-year-old daughter, it will go through their ankles more or less.
Yeah.
So yeah. It's creepy if you consider his priors, but since
And did you perform
the
interviews of both of those subjects?
Yes.
I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Going once?
Detective
Why don't
Obert,
we
I've
take
heard you
a
use this
30-minute
term,
break?
other officers use this term, and even the prosecution uses this term a number of times. When you say the term wife beater, what are we talking about?
A white tank top.
Why do we call it a wife beater here?
In this certain situation, it's just a common term referred to that article of clothing.
Why?
In my
That's
common knowledge
good.
experiences, someone that wears that, like if we're going stereotypes, someone that assaults their significant other.
You're not saying that Mr. Dinkins is a wife beater, right?
Correct.
So let's use the word tank top from now on, okay?
Sounds good.
Is that fair?
That is fair.
Okay. Appreciate it.
yeah.
That's good.
Good,
That would've
good
played
point.
really well in a
Good point.
jury.
Yeah. And yeah, had this been a jury trial, he would have objected on the first time that was used.
Yeah.
Talking about the clothing, items 60, exhibits 63 through 66. You sent those off to the FBI lab yourself?
No.
But the decision was made within the Detective Bureau of the Davenport Police Department, correct?
That is correct.
And decisions were made as to what those items should be tested for by the Detective Bureau?
By the FBI analysis team. There's like no formal form I filled out to say it has to be tested for this, that, or the other.
Did anybody at Davenport request that certain items of forensic evidence be tested off those 4 items of clothing?
Yes.
And who would that have been?
I've been a collective group of Sergeant Pfeiffer and the lieutenants, and then that information was relayed to Cameron Smith and Jim McMillan.
Did you have input into that decision?
Not at that time, no.
Did you provide information to Sergeant Pfeiffer and this group as to what you thought should be tested?
Not at that time.
So the Nike shoes, were impressions ever taken of those shoes? The soles?
On the video of him buying stuff in the gas station, he was wearing a tank top. That's what they are referring to.
Not that I'm aware of.
Were those shoes ever compared to the footprints at Credit Island?
I do not believe so.
The footprints at Credit Island, can you tell me if the footprints were ever analyzed to see if it came from a pair of tennis shoes, first of all?
I do not believe so.
What?
Did it come from a pair of work boots, perhaps?
It is possible. I don't know for certain.
But we don't know, right?
That is correct.
They could come from bedroom slippers, possibly.
Why wouldn't you? So I assume they had ruled it out because of testing. Now they are. This is again shady police work. When they refuse to test something because it might show it has no relevance. Instead, they choose to not test it to be able to use it in court.
Well, plus
So,
it
yeah.
saves, taxpayer money. So got to worry about that budget.
Yeah. So they are claiming he walked around. They saw they have these shoe prints, but they never tested it because that might exclude him from that. Jesus Christ.
They'd have to have like some distinct lines on the bottom of those slippers, I'd say.
Point is that the Davenport Police Department or any other law enforcement agency did not take any footwear impressions of those footprints for comparison purposes, did they?
We took those impressions, but they were not compared to any shoes that we had.
Okay. So Mr. Dinkins gives you a pair of shoes. Those aren't compared, number one, right?
That is correct.
And at this point in time, you don't know what shoes he would have been wearing at Credit Island if he were in fact there, correct?
At what point?
When you're interviewing Mr. Dinkins and he gives you his clothes, right?
That'd be correct.
Because DL never told you he was wearing gold shoes, did he?
That is correct.
You didn't have videos yet, did you?
That is correct.
Were the shoes ever tested for DNA?
I can't say for certain on. I'd have to go back to the report.
The white T-shirt, that was tested for blood, correct?
That is correct.
And why blood?
How can they have access to his clothes and not access to all his shoes? Yeah, I know they haven't found his gold shoes, but this is so stupid.
Yeah.
They could at least have tested it. I mean,
It doesn't take much work.
No. Take these 2 additional tests. Here is from that pair of shoes. Here is from a brand of pair of shoes that was in the apartment or in the RV. Please test it for blood. Please test it for DNA. No, because that might exclude him of sorts. We need to insinuate to a jury that it might be, and they will buy it. But here we are in a bench trial. And they are completely fucking it up.
Any sort of foreign DNA or anything known at that point was just a general thing that the FBI lab was going to test for, along with other things.
You say foreign DNA. We can get DNA in a lot of different ways, agreed?
Yes.
DNA can come from saliva, correct?
Yes.
Tears, correct?
Potentially, yes. I can't speak on that.
You can sneeze and leave DNA, right?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
Sure. You can sneeze and leave DNA?
Potentially, yes.
You can slough DNA off your skin, can't you?
Yes.
But none of that was tested for on that shirt, was it?
I'm not for certain. I'd have to look at that report.
Do you know if that request was even made by the Davenport Police Department?
I do not know that.
In your training and experience as a detective, would that, in your experience, been the best practice to search for all DNA?
To test it for the other things that you just listed?
For all DNA of any sort. Would that be a yes?
I would agree with that, yes.
Especially if you only tested for blood and the results come back negative for blood, would it not be best practice for a detective in your training and experience to perhaps send that item off again for testing for any sort of DNA?
That is an avenue that probably could have been explored.
But in your training and experience, would it not be the best practice to do that?
given what information we had, that could be something that we could have done.
I'm not asking what you could have done. I'm saying if you have a shirt that's tested for only blood, and let's say maybe semen, and those come back negative and no other DNA is tested for, would it not be best practice, given your education, given your training, and given your experience, to then send that item off and have it tested for other types of DNA?
The defendant was with Breasia Terrell, that we all know, from July 9th through July 10th. Her touch to the shirt wouldn't negate or add the benefit of that. I mean, if she's within the apartment and he's there as well and the shirt's there, I mean, me personally, I feel like touch DNA would not bolster one or the other.
So your testimony is that DNA from Breasia Terrell on the clothing of Henry Dinkins serves no beneficial purpose.
Touch DNA on the t-shirt.
Very well. And the shorts, item 65, those were also tested for blood and semen, and those came back negative as well, right?
That's correct.
Now, shorts, you have to agree that might be a little different for touch DNA, would it not?
As far as the significance or importance that touch would be there?
Yes.
Yeah, it'd be not like a common place where someone else would touch an individual.
Sure. So if Breasia Terrell's touch DNA were on the inside of Henry Dinkins' shorts, that would throw up red flags, would it not?
Yes.
And would it not be best practice in your training, your education, and experience, knowing that Breasia Terrell had never been to Henry Dinkins' apartment with Andrea Culbertson before, to have the inside of Mr. Dinkins' shorts was wearing tested for all kinds of DNA?
That is something that could have been done.
Would you have preferred it as you as a detective?
Yes.
Hi, Dirk.
Hey.
And given the fact that Breasia Terrell had only been in this apartment from the evening of July 9th into the early morning hours of July 10th, you still say that touch DNA has very little significance to this case?
I guess I'd expand on in particulars about that, because we agreed about the shorts, but not the shirt.
Okay, please do.
So, I mean, you want me to expand on other things in the apartment, or?
No, I mean, this girl didn't live at that apartment, right?
That's correct.
She'd never been there before, right?
That's correct.
So we wouldn't expect to see her DNA all over the apartment, correct?
All depends on where she was at in the apartment that night.
Okay. And this head wrap, this black head wrap that Mr. Dinkins was wearing, there was no blood or semen found on that, right?
Correct.
Touch DNA, would that have any significance on his head wrap?
Potentially. I mean, I know it wasn't tested. When I'm trying to think of a reason why her prints or touch DNA would be on that head wrap, unless she was asked to hand it off to him at some point in the night or different things like that, it's potential that could have been on there.
Or perhaps in a struggle and was fighting with him and touched him upon the head?
That is a possibility.
In your training, education, and experience, and in your investigation in this case, where's the primary crime scene?
Where she was located.
So up there in Clinton County by Kunow Implement is the primary crime scene, correct?
That is where her remains were found, yes.
Is that where she was killed?
I mean, I can theorize based on the lack of blood and things found in other parts of this investigation. I would argue it's hard to transport someone that's already been shot and take them up there and then dump them. I believe that she was shot there.
And that makes sense, does it not?
Yeah, because there's no blood in the car, no traces of blood.
Yeah.
They only have this pregnant desk cop with a heightened sense of smell who testified to sniffing bleach in the trunk. But there is no blood evidence at all inside that car. So yeah, that would be a good conclusion, that she couldn't have been transported there while dead. So that logically is the scene where everything happened.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because we looked for blood in the Impala and there's none there, correct?
Correct.
And we looked for other evidence at Credit Island, and there's just nothing there as far as blood or anything, right?
Nothing that we found, no.
And no blood evidence in the apartment, right?
Correct.
And we did find at the location where her remains were found that she had been shot 3 times. Is that a fair statement?
Yes,
And where she had been shot, all 3 slugs were recovered, were they not?
they were.
And 2 of them were embedded in the soil already, right?
Yeah, they're within the topsoil. Yeah.
And in your training experience, that would indicate to you that right there is probably where she was shot.
Yes.
Okay. So you were talking about this firearm with Ms. Cunningham. I want you to educate me a little bit. The firearm was found in the pond right next to the location of the remains, correct?
Yes.
Within, I don't know, 50 yards probably.
Yeah.
So what's the significance of this firearm?
The significance is when DCI did an analysis of the rounds recovered with Breeze's remains and compared to that firearm that was located in the pond, they cannot rule it out as being a possible.
Oh, not even a toolmark guy could definitely say the gun was okay. Well, it's been in a pond for at least 8 months, possibly. But still, yeah.
Being the gun involved with that, but there's no exact where they can say that is for sure the firearm.
Yeah, exactly. And they found nothing in the car. So everything must have happened if the prosecution's case is correct.
Yeah.
Then she was either killed earlier that night or within a 15-minute span. But then you have the kid's testimony that he saw his dad shoot, and that is only possible if everything happened in that 15-minute I believe when they timed him driving up to the Walmart, looking at the timestamps and everything, and then drove back with the kid in the car, there is time missing up to 15 minutes. And so instead of actually looking for evidence she was killed earlier, they are so damn reliant on the kid's testimony. And we know the kid made shit up.
Yeah.
And earlier that night, we know that he was at his side piece. So it might be that everybody just agreed after a few days after the disappearances, he did it. Let's say stuff that makes him more guilty.
Okay, so we have this gun, it's a .38 special revolver, right?
Yes.
But we can't say that's the gun that killed her, but it falls within the class of guns that could have killed her.
That's correct.
It could be anywhere from a .357 all the way up through a 9mm, right?
I believe that's what included in the DCI report.
And there's all kinds of guns and manufacturers that make those guns in this country. Fair?
Yes.
And the slugs which were recovered were too, I'm gonna say too far gone, too destroyed to be tested as to whether or not they came from that particular gun, right?
Yeah, they used the word deformed, I believe.
That's a fair word. But they were tested, right?
Yes.
So we have 3 slugs that were tested, but we can't tell came from any particular gun. Is that a fair statement?
Yes.
Okay. Does the proximity of this gun to Breasia Terrell's body mean anything to you as an investigator?
Yes.
What's that mean?
In my experience in murders or homicides that involve people with firearms and using them, common practice by these individuals is to discard the murder weapon essentially. And by tossing it near where she was shot in a body of water would make maybe someone believe that they're not going to find it in a body of water. That's fairly hard to find.
It's common to ditch weapons in your training experience in rivers, lakes, ponds, whatever, right?
Yes.
And they're difficult in your training experience to recover in rivers and ponds and lakes, right?
Yes.
So the theory is that crime scene is right there by Kunal Implement, that the shooter killed Breasia right there at Kunal Implement, right?
Yes.
Then promptly shot 3 times, first of all, right?
At least, yes.
Okay. And this gun, it's a revolver, so it's got a cylinder in it, right?
Yes.
And the cylinder holds how many cartridges?
I believe that one was 6 rounds.
So it's an old school 6-shooter, right?
Yeah.
And if you want to shoot a 6-shooter, you pull the trigger 6 times, and then the gun is empty, right?
Yes.
Can't shoot anymore until you eject all the cartridges.
Yes.
Okay. So she is shot at least 3 times, correct?
Yes.
We have no other evidence that she was shot more than that, though, do we?
We do not.
We didn't recover any other cartridges from the location, did we?
No.
We didn't find any casings at all, right?
No.
Does the significance of finding no casings at all mean anything to you?
No casings around where her remains are at?
Yes.
It could indicate that one is that revolver, and that's where the casings are, and that's what I would argue for that.
I'm sorry, make me understand that again.
So being that we didn't find any casings around where her remains were, one of 2 things could possibly be in that scenario is, one, they were picked up by the individual who did this, or that when they discarded the weapon, they left the casings along with inside that revolver.
Okay, so if someone, I'm trying to understand here. If someone shot Briasia 3 times with a 6-shooter, there'd be 3 empty cartridges still in the revolver cylinder, right?
There would be.
And 3 live cartridges, right?
Not necessarily.
If it was fully loaded.
If it was fully loaded, yes.
And only the 3 shots were fired, right?
Yes.
So this firearm, when it was recovered, first of all, you're able to trace the history of a firearm, right?
Yes.
Were you able to trace the history of this firearm?
The dealer that sold it, they lost all their records, and that was the dealer was in Iowa City, and they're no longer in business, and so there is almost no paper trail for this firearm, unfortunately.
That dealer came out of Iowa City, doesn't know where he or she sold it?
They didn't have any of those records. They lost them in some sort of flood.
Are those not reported to the ATF?
They should be.
Did anybody check with the ATF?
We had connections there, and they were checked, and there was no documentation on the following of this firearm.
So the ATF didn't even have the record of the initial sale from the dealer to the person who bought it initially?
That was my understanding from the detective that did the firearm trace follow-up.
Okay, so when I go to buy a firearm, I have to fill out a form that says I'm buying this particular firearm. Is that your understanding?
Yes.
And I have to pass a background check, right?
Yes.
And that background check.
So this gun dealer sold to criminals.
Department of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, right?
I would imagine.
And you're telling me that the Department of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms was consulted, and they had no records on that?
Is from the detective that did the trace. That is my understanding.
Okay. Who was that?
Detective Thomas.
Okay. So, assuming for a moment that Ms. Terrell was shot 3 times, and then the theory is then the gun was just thrown in the water, right?
Yes.
Can you think of any reason under that scenario where she shot 3 times that an individual would take 3 casings out of the gun and then reload the gun and throw it in the water?
So then it's full of live rounds. Is that what you're
loaded full of 6 rounds of .38 special?
I don't know what the purpose of that would be.
Doesn't
They
make sense.
recovered the gun and it was full of
makes no
ammo.
sense.
They recovered a gun and it had all live ammo still in it.
That's weird.
Yeah, that would indicate to me that, I don't know, somebody just tossed it.
Unless he was trying to screw with the.
Yeah, but if you toss it, you kind of expect it to never be found again. And if you are a decent criminal, you never toss it around where you actually commit the crime.
Yeah.
So my guess is that as much of the other evidence in this trial, it has jack shit to do with it.
Yeah, that is really weird.
For you to load your gun and then toss it in the pond, right?
Correct.
In your investigation, you've looked at photos of this gun, right?
Yes.
Tell me, how many rounds were in the cylinder?
There were 6 spent casings.
They were all spent?
Yeah.
Okay,
Were
6
there any
spent
live
casings?
rounds with this gun?
No.
Did the DCI ever test fire
Yeah,
with
and
this
then
gun?
what did he do with the empties?
Yeah, I mean, if I mean, if she shot 3 times, well, he could have shot and missed, and the bullet chasing her. I have no idea, but it indicates she was shot at that very spot.
Yeah.
Execution style.
But then he had 3 extra bullets in his pocket that he stuffed back in the gun.
And then fired them because it's
Or no, and then
it's
dumped
6
the gun.
empty. Yeah, 6 empty. So it must have been depleted. But they only found the slugs, damaged slugs, at the scene. And I mean, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, shot her 3 times, but there were already 3 empties. It might be. There's a lot of possibilities, or simply this gun has nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
And if, as Marcus wrote earlier, then what does the fucking machete has to do with anything? Yeah, nothing makes sense.
No.
I believe so, yes.
They test fire the gun with the same ammunition.
That was found in the gun? Well, that wouldn't have been possible, but they used their own ammo. I don't know the process of that, but they use their own ammo.
Okay.
Okay, we are getting close to when I have to get over to the Yodi stream, which begins in 2.5 minutes.
Woohoo.
Yeah, and so we are going off to Yodi, and if my brain isn't totally mush, I will continue streaming this trial later. But don't be surprised, because then I would have been online for well over 6 hours.
Yeah.
So probably we will see each other tomorrow.
Okay.
And continue with this trial. But yeah, remember, press that like button, subscribe to
Please.
me, consider becoming a member and stuff like that. And while you're at it,
please subscribe to me.
Subscribe to Dali. And
Dark.
yeah, I see you all in a couple of minutes over at, I will send you all over there.
Okay.
I believe I pushed that customization. Yes, I will redirect you to the Yodi stream. And yeah, see you there in a bit.
Bye.
Bye.